We do a lot more than that. But
Pretty intense. Pretty intense.
We do, yeah.
I said hi to Laura. I haven't seen. How's the baby boy?
I stayed far away. I said hi.
Yeah.
We won't. I don't want you.
Yeah, you've been obviously watching her Instagram.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, my sister took lock boxes off one of her properties. So we are.
Yeah. Oh.
Ah.
Hello.
Well,
Is this thing on?
Which camera should we be looking at, Eric?
Hey guys, can you hear us okay? We have not been able to do an audio test. So let us know in the comments if they can hear us. I feel feedback in the microphone, which means I've got power in the microphone.
Oh, vibrations.
Yeah, I feel a little bit of vibration.
How do you?
It's a sense. Some people are born with it. Some aren't. You could
if
learn
you're a
it.
Colombiana, you're not born with it. Okay, perfect.
Oh, I'm a Colombian.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Explain It. I'm one of your hosts, Caroline, and I have Ingryd Hernandez to my left.
Heyo.
And we have a special guest today who brought us together.
Love you guys.
The myth, the legend, Pace Morby. Thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah, the guest has provided a guest house for us today.
Yeah, of course. I wanted to hang out with you guys. I always love hanging out with you.
Oh,
some of my favorite people on the planet.
Amen. Yes, I agree. So, why do we even have an anniversary podcast at all, Caroline?
Great question. We were inspired. We were inspired by Pace. This would not be possible without you pushing us to get outside of our comfort zone and to continuously make episodes every week. And one of my favorite things about watching your stuff is you just go live and you talk about what's important to you, and you take people who are on the live and you really get them out of their comfort zone as well to push themselves. So you are the reason we even have a podcast, and you are the reason I even know Ingryd because of Subto.
Yeah. Well, you already brought that topic up, but for sure. Yeah. I would not have even tried to do a podcast because there was so many mindset hurdles I had to get through. And, it took a whole year because my mastermind was December 2021.
Yep.
And we didn't start this podcast until a year ago, which was obviously January 2023.
So it took you a year and a month to get over that.
Yeah. I was so worried about everything.
Like what? Give me a couple things. What were you so worried about?
Well, I have a corporate
people at your job, your
I have
W2.
A corporate job. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to find out and I'm going to get fired.
Oh my gosh. I had a girl DM me the other day. She's like, hey, should I create a separate Instagram? Because people at my job, I'm like, dude, one, they're probably not watching. Two, they're just going to be like, dang, man, she's so cool. She got her own podcast.
Totally. Absolutely. And then I've even let the cat out of the bag a little bit with some of them to be like, yeah, I do investing on the side and I even have my own podcast. And yeah, for sure. That's actually the reaction. How cool. Because they know that we have to have our own personal lives, our own hobbies, our own ambitions, interests. Yeah. And like, you know, hiking. I go hiking. What's the difference between going hiking or
doing a podcast?
Right. Yeah. No difference.
You're sweating in one, usually.
It is tough. I mean, one thing that I heard a couple of months ago is that, you know, when there's like a spouse and one spouse goes, I'm going to start working out, I'm going to start doing a podcast, whatever. And this spouse gets upset and frustrated and whatever else. I heard a phrase or a saying that somebody said, the reason why that person is upset or frustrated is that you're killing the person that they remember. And they're trying to like, hold on. That's not you. That's not who I married. That's not And they're afraid because you are truly killing the old version of yourself. Then I also heard coworkers, people at church, your friends, et cetera, when you do something that's outside of your normal, like who Ingryd and Caroline are, right? It's like, wait, hold on a second. It does two things. One, the thing I just said about the spouse, and two, it reminds them of the dreams that they gave up on. And it's a threatening feeling. It's projection of like, oh my gosh, they did the thing that I wish I did. How dare they outshine me, you know, type of thing. And I think we kind of know that that's going to happen. And so that then causes us not to take any action.
Totally. 100%. And by the way, just celebrated my 13th year wedding anniversary with my husband. And that's exactly what I put on my post, that like when you're with somebody for so long and if you're with somebody like me who constantly wants to do something different and evolve and whatever, like it does require you to continually fall in love with each other because you are in essence finding somebody else there with you next to your bed. You're like, wait, this isn't who Ingryd was in 2006 when we first met. So yeah, for sure. That's why I love him.
Yeah. Like if you look at a TV show, like a really, really well done TV show that goes 10, 15, 25 episodes or seasons, let's say, the characters evolve. And so you want to watch that whole story arc and how they change and they have different interests and how they fall, how they overcome. And so I look at a spouse or a friend and I'm like, give me a show. Like, give me some change. I don't want you to be the same person in 5 years. I want to see the tribulation. I want to see the challenges. I kind of want to see you eat shit a couple of times. And then I want to see you, more importantly, overcome it.
Yeah.
And if you just stay that same stagnant person, you're not giving me a show. So somebody DM me the other day, Pace, how do I hang out with you? I'm like, bro, give me a show. Like you made one Instagram post in the last 4 years since joining Instagram. And you think like, how do I know you're going to be somebody that is going to be worthy of me watching?
Yeah.
You, oh my gosh, if I could go back and talk about how you both have changed, doing deals, helping other people do deals, the way you communicate, the way you build relationships, your ambitions, your understanding of the world, just me sitting back and watching you like you're my own little Netflix special that I get to watch is like the greatest thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I attribute a lot of that to you, Pace. So for people that don't know, I first interacted with you from Instagram.
Yep.
I had no idea who you were. And I wasn't even in Subto. And because you interacted with me on Instagram, I ended up joining Subto. And I see you like as a brother and a little bit of a father figure. We've talked about this a few times.
Papa
but like,
Pace.
Papa Pace.
I'm cool with that.
But yeah, but like and I didn't have a rough upbringing or anything, but I just didn't have the structure and organization. You probably don't even know that you've done this. I clear out my inbox every day because you talk about clearing out your inbox every day. And that used to be a thing that created a ton of anxiety in my life. And I remember, when you joined Subto, you're so excited. I also remember messaging you. You probably had like 20,000 followers on Instagram. And I was like, oh my God, he's like responding back to me because I was in another mentorship. Great mentor, but it would take 6 hours to hear back. And
or ever.
Yeah, or whenever they were free. And you got back to me pretty quickly. And I thought this was so cool. And I ended up joining Subto. And this is when you were doing 8 hours of Zooms a day. And I was like, wow, I'm at the beginning of the roller coaster before you're going to take off. You were not that you're still really involved in the community. And it was just really cool because I got to interact with you a ton. I remember our first Zoom is actually in the Zoom vault where I was wearing those big old headphones. And I brought you a lead that I found from a free list I got from somebody else. But I was just like, this is really, really cool. And another moment that I really appreciated, you talked about just the aspect of go giving and going into like what all you've done just for my mindset. And it's opened me up to more opportunities. Love my parents, grateful for what they gave me, but it was more of a W-2 factory idea and like stay with it. Hey, getting a little out of reach there in 2008, everything came falling down. It was like, we are spending too much. We must cut back. And you talked about a fix and flip that you and Cody had. And somebody broke in and stole all of your appliances. And you said that it flooded the first floor and it caused like $10,000, maybe $15,000 worth of damage. And I remember you saying this so clearly, you were like, I could get upset about this and say, this is awful. I don't want to be investing anymore. Like, this is the worst thing ever. And you're like, or I could just be a big boy and understand this is the cost of doing business and let me go make more money. And I was just, when you said that, like, I had an epiphany. I was like, oh my gosh, because my upbringing, it would have been like, of course people are taking advantage of us. And this is why you don't take these risks. So because of you, I've got
this is what happens when you blah, blah, blah.
Get outside of your comfort zone. So because of you, I've been able to make connections with Ingryd and Eric and everybody else inside of Subto. And we have some of our best friends from there, Marlon Johnson. So your go giving and being, because you didn't want to be a coach,
still
a
don't.
mentor. Yeah. And I don't even think of you as that, but
I want to be
cool.
Everybody's friend. I want everybody to be my friend. And I remember, of course, I just showed up late for your podcast. I apologize. But I went over to the house that
only friends do that.
Right. And I'm very sorry. I was here at 4:01. I was actually
you
here
were
at
actually
4,
on time.
But then I saw my babies upstairs sleeping. Did you see them when you walked in?
No, I didn't see.
Oh my gosh, they're all sleeping on the couch. Anyway, I meandered down here, so I apologize. But I was just at a house I used to live at 4 years ago. And you get there and you stand there. You've ever gone to a house you used to rent or live at, and it like reminds you of your
feelings.
Everything. Mostly all good, but then you also think about your options, your limitations, and who you were at that time. And it also reminds me of the time at Lemon Street when you first came and worked for me. And I was, the knuckleheads I had working for me at that time, like I was still working through my stuff is like, how do I build a real estate business? One, like, of course, I'm doing a lot of creative finance. I'm buying a lot of deals. We're doing fix and flips. We're doing wholesale. But like, it was fun because you were part of the journey of watching me get rid of crap in my life. Right. And same thing with you. I remember how this actually happened. I don't know if you know the story, but I told Caroline, I said, She goes, I don't want to be where I'm at right now. And I go, I want you in Arizona. You got a special personality. Come out here. I'll pay for your gas to come out to Arizona. So I think I Venmoed them like $500. I was like, I'll pay for your gas to come from Florida to Arizona. Kelly and Caroline came out and you stayed. She came and worked.
I was coming out here for 2 weeks. I came out here with a suitcase worth of clothes for 2 weeks, and I have
never
not
gone home.
Else. I just bought more clothes.
People are still sitting at home like going, when's Caroline coming? So she stayed out here. And to be honest, you know, when I first talked to you and I saw you, I was like, there's something special about this girl. And you have changed so many people's lives inside of our community as well. And that was always what I imagined. And same thing, I reference Ingryd all the time about how many people's lives you've changed. And that's what this was all meant to be. It was like, how do I create a brotherhood, a sisterhood, a family of people, our chosen family, so to speak, where we can all make money with each other. We can all grow up together. We can hang out together and we can just have fun and not think of this as like, we paid for a mentorship. We're in the thing for whatever amount of months and that's over. It's like, dude, we're going to keep running this thing for 10, 15 years and keep making money with each other for 10, 15, 20 years. And now you're seeing people's kids are starting to come into Subto. And what's fun is I get DMs from people, Carol, I was just on the Daily Dial with Caroline and she's changing my life. And it's just so fun to watch how both of you and me have all grown up in the last couple of years.
Yeah. And I can't believe how much has happened in just the last couple of years. Because
like crazy too.
You know, one of the things that Marlon is really good at and reminds us a lot is who's around you, like who's your campfire, who's influencing you, and constantly auditing that. And I'm like, oh my God, everyone I hang out with is from Subto.
Me too.
Like I very rarely am around other people. And it's just because we are making money with each other, is because we are impacting
similar
other
culture
lives.
too.
That's
right?
exactly what it is. You built a really good culture.
Yeah, the values that are in here, but for sure. And what I really love about what you I think are starting to do is kind of like setting the intentions for the year. And like this year is about giving more. And so that kind of flipped my switch a little to be like, how am I writing my goals to align with that as well? Like, how can we create more impact in more lives? How can we give more? How can we, you know, even my husband and I were talking about like, we need to really schedule. There's this really amazing nonprofit out here in Mesa called Pace de Cristo, and they feed the homeless or underserved.
How would a white person say that?
Pasta Cristo.
Pasta Cristo.
You know what? I want to go get me some pasta over there.
They cook. They serve a hot meal every single day of the year, every single day. And then they have these services where they get, and I was like, we should, now that our daughter's 14, we should be in that kitchen cooking and like having that sort of influence on them too, to see, you know, life isn't that easy. But so just, those are the types of things that I did as I was preparing for 24. But yeah, like seriously, Caroline, she's my sister. Like, or my daughter sometimes, right?
Yeah, I could see both.
Like she's mine and Mark's family now. And so we think about her a lot when we talk about even vacations, you know? And I'm like, I didn't even know who you were like 3 years ago.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So it's crazy.
One of the hardest things about the Subto community for me is that once we, you know, in the very beginning, I was doing these 8, 9, sometimes 12-hour Zooms with the Subto community. Saturdays, I would go, all right, here's the Google sheet. I'm just going to call your sellers for 12 hours straight. I would just do that. And I miss those days. And my dad told me the story about when he was the CFO of Rockford Fosgate and they were starting out in the garage. And he was like, the owner, Bob Pothier, came in. Rockford Fosgate is a massive speaker company now. They do billions of dollars of business all over the globe. They're now manufactured a lot in China, but they were manufactured here in Arizona for a while. And my dad was in this garage, literally of Bob Pothier, 5 people running in the garage. And Bob came out and he goes, none of you will make it. Maybe one of you will make it. And here's what's going to happen. The culture has to change in order for us to grow and all of us to get better. We can't stay in this garage forever. Could you imagine us being in this garage in 20 years? Like we have to grow, which means we have new problems, new expectations, new personalities, going to change the dynamic. And so I told this story at the very beginning of Subto. And I said, the fact that we're in here with 80 people and one day in my vision, I'm telling you, we'll have 800, 1,000, 1,500 people in this Zoom. You guys can't see it, but I can. Please stick with me for this ride because it will change. And there will come a point where somebody from that garage says, this is changed. I'm telling you right now, it's going to change, and it has to change, and we have to evolve with it. And more importantly, we have to lead that change instead of just go, I'm waiting for it to change. And so what I appreciate about both of you is you helped lead that change and carry that, whether you know it or not on a daily basis, you really do.
100, literally the daily dial.
Yeah. The daily dial.
Yeah.
The daily dial. And so, there's things that I'm working on now that I wasn't physically capable of working on 4 years ago that are part of the vision of Subto. And in 2 years, there's things that I will work on that I don't have the physicality or physical nature to be able to do today. I don't have the resources. I don't have the communication style. I don't have the team. I don't have the whatever to bring the value to the community that I need to accomplish the mission, the overall mission. And one of the most important resources that we've needed in the Subto community are the leaders. It could never have been done by me. And I said that at the very beginning. I was like, literally the first Zoom, if you go back to, I said, guys, you'll remember what I'm going to say this, and I will reference back to this first Zoom. This is not a mentorship. This is not a course. This is a community that will live, breathe, and turn into an entity by itself. Please stick with me. And Uncle Lonzo was on that first Zoom. And he texts me almost weekly, little voice memos, this, that, and the other. And he's just like, just want to remind you, you're on the path, you're doing the right thing. And I'm here for the ride. I'm here for the ride. The sad part about it, and why I go on that tangent, is that now as I'm working on, semesters and the mechanics and what platform are we going on, it's like, it takes me away from doing 7 Zooms a week. And I have to pass some of that on to the community members, and some of those community members who don't see me as much as maybe we all hung out with each other a lot more 3 years ago, 2 years ago. It's like, oh, Pace isn't around as much. Dude, I'm doing like 3, 4, 5 Zooms a week sometimes, 3, 4, 5 hours each sometimes. But it's, the transition has to grow where more leaders are the face of the community rather than just me, in order for us to completely change the industry. Like, think about creative finance 4 years ago.
What was it?
Nothing.
Yeah.
It wasn't around. There were old people doing it that were trying to keep it a secret. And I'm like, we as a community can completely normalize it, right? With agents, with brokers, with everybody else. There's no way I can do this on my own. And we are doing that. And I think we have probably a good 7 to 10 years until the industry is like, oh yeah, it's cash and creative. It's not like, oh yeah, there's this like creative thing that's kind of becoming a thing now. That's where we are right now. But I think in 7 to 10 years, it's going to be like, no, the Subto community basically controls all of the flow of all the creative finance deals in the entire country, is where I think this is going to go. And we have to change, evolve, and adapt along the way. And you go from sadly being in that amazing garage atmosphere to now we're in a bigger warehouse. Now we're into this. Now we're nationwide. And it's like, okay, cool. Where can I keep that community feeling together? Because you do have to get larger and bigger. So it's tough. And I was on a meeting yesterday with Josiah, my partner at Enriches, which is the company that published Subto. And he said, what do you want to do more than anything else in 2024? And I said, I want to go back to the way I was doing Zooms in 2020 and 2021. I want to go back. I miss it so much. And he's like, well, we need you to do this and 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 this. And I go, find somebody else. I'm going to go back to doing this. So I've got a lot of plans to go back to doing a lot of the fulfillment and seller calls, expired listings, cold calls, foreclosure stuff, and just hanging out with the community and just having a fun time like I used to 2 or 3 years ago. And, in December, I sat down and I looked at my calendar. I have a coach right now. He's $35,000 a month. He's a time blocking coach.
What?
Yep.
I want to be one of those.
How much time a day do you think, how much time a month do I spend with this guy?
4
Probably
hours.
like 2 hours.
1 hour a month.
1 hour a month?
Yeah. Because
When?
my first one was in December. Second one was last week. And he gives me very specific homework. He's, you get to a point where you have enough money that you can hire people. So he says, you have to hire this exact person to do this exact thing. Let's take these things off, hand that to this specific person. So it's high execution, a lot of things where he's like, we need to take literally the last 6 months of your calendar, take 100 things that you did, write them all down. This took me a week and like a couple hours every morning, and literally write down 100 things you should not be doing that do not produce the results that you want. And I'm not talking about finances. I'm talking about your happiness, your joy, your everything. And I did all of that. I came up with like 200. And he said, now give me 25 things that you want to do that give joy and produce the most result. And I came up with 26 because I couldn't do 25. Right. So I came up with 26, and like 20 of them are hanging out with the Subto community related. It's like meetups with the communities, doing this, flying here to do this, and it's like 20 of the 26 things.
Mhm.
He's like, we got to figure out how to get you back there. And your partners are pulling you in places they shouldn't be pulling you. And one of my favorite things I read in December was from John Rockefeller wrote letters to his son. And he told his son, he says, if you want to cripple a man, give him crutches.
Mm.
Here's what it could be applicable to so many stories, but here's where it is applicable in my life. If you clean your sons and daughters' bedrooms every single day, are they going to just clean their own bedroom?
No,
you've given them crutches, right? You've given them something to rely on. So now they become crippled. So for me, I have magic in me. You have magic in you. You have magic in you. I have a different magic in me that when I do certain things, an idea, I don't know anybody that comes up with better ideas, not a better marketer than me. There's certain things I'm just really, really good at. So what happens is I'm so good at them that I can take 5 minutes to look at a thing, come up with an idea that you could go pay $100,000 to an outside agency they couldn't come up with. And I make it so easy. So instead of my partners going and doing that and hiring out, pace becomes the requirement. And I then am also an includer is a problem I have. I want everybody to be happy. I want everything to be good. So then what happens over time is your life gets completely like stolen from you, and you wake up at your calendar and everybody's robbing your time. And so a lot of my time in December was like, what were the happiest days of my life? And, of course, all these years are amazing, but really the happiest days of my life was when I gave the most and when I hung out with the Subto community the most. So I'm like, that's where I want to be this coming year, and all the missions and all the things that I need to accomplish. My coach, Stan Martell, I don't know if you read his book, Buy Your Time Back.
No.
Anyway, great book. You should read it. And Dan Martell's like, why can't you accomplish all of these visions, but just give it to other people? And I'm like, well, he goes, let me guess, you got to do it yourself. I'm like, gosh, when you say it like that, it makes me sound so stupid. But that is the case. And a lot of it is like practice of delegation, things that I wouldn't have practiced 10 years ago. Such a hard thing to do, and
especially when you do everything so well.
Yes.
Because you're going to do a good job and it's going to be exactly the way that you want.
Well, and you have to then reconcile and be okay that 75% or 80% is still
better than
passing
taking
grade.
time away.
It's so tough too. Cause like one thing, for example, Caroline, like DMs, right? Like at some point I can't physically be in my DMs all the time. And so in the last 3 or 4 months, I hired somebody to be in my DMs when I'm not available. They then are supposed to push things over. Like if it's a Subto student, push them into my primary, make sure that let me reply to them. If it's general, you guys reply to them and give them help, send them to the free Facebook group, etc. So we get this NFL player, sends me a DM, 15 million followers on Instagram, legit, like very big name, sends me a DM. He goes, Pace, I'd love to collab. I'd love to do something with you. I've been following you for a year. You're unbelievable. Somebody from my DMs replies back and goes, please work with my students. Not like, here's the free Facebook group where you can find the students. Like you would think that logically we would give them a link, but it's literally just like, please work with my students. Nothing else. And I'm like, you have to be okay with 70% of your 100%. How about like that was not even 7% of my 100%? Like it would have been better not to reply to that person. Like that's a challenging part about business and evolving. And so, you don't have the right person. So then you have to have the hard conversation of letting that person go or saying, hey, buddy, maybe this wasn't the way to do, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these conversations that happen that you don't think are going to be happening 5 years ago in your evolution. You're like, oh, I'm just going to buy more houses. Then it's going to hire more people and my life is going to be easier. It's like, no, in a lot of ways it does get more complex.
Yeah. So let's go back to this like go-giving mentality. I actually had never read The Go-Giver until I was in Subto.
Why'd you guys put this big old table between
I don't know. It's so big.
Push it.
Oh, my legs
Kick it that way. You can do that. That works.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Okay.
Man. Show off our shoes.
So The Go-Giver, we had what's his name? Ironically, like such a funny story. Do you know the story about The Go-Giver?
Well, I know what happened.
Yeah, I paid him to come into the Subto community, and then he's like, I don't want you to share this with anybody. I was like, what, bro? Your book is The Go-Giver.
They're supposed to give it away. Yeah, we actually had my kids listening to the book when we were listening to the book because we didn't read it.
Yeah.
We ordered it and accidentally ordered the what's the book? It was like a workbook. It's like a teacher's workbook.
Oh,
thing.
sick. For the Go-Giver?
For the Go-Giver. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, I meant to actually take the book. And so we listened to the Audible instead. And so my kids had to listen to it too, which was a really great story. But anywho, I know that this year is so much about go-giving. And so do you want to talk a little bit about one of the surprises we wanted to do?
No, take it away.
No?
I forget what
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, we texted.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So
I know what you're talking about. That over there?
Yeah, that over there.
Okay, I got it now. So, because you're should I just go get it so everybody can see it? How about that? Let me move around the studio.
Is it the wood thing?
It's the wood thing.
Yeah, definitely the wood thing. We're going to give away some wood.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So we knew the ultimate go-giver was going to be here. So Caroline and I want to give away 3 of these books.
It's a good book.
It's a good book.
It
You
is.
can get it at Barnes & Noble, but we're going to be giving it away. So
thank you, guys.
yeah. Well, Pace, thank you so much for being such a go-giver. And seriously, just talking about being a go-giver, giving without expectation of anything in return, which is it's crazy, dude. Like because you get burned, you have something that happens in your life. So the thought of it is just nuts. So we're going to give away a few books. I don't remember how we're going to be giving these away though, Ingrid. How did you want to give the books away?
Have them DM you.
Yes.
Okay.
And then have somebody else DM them the wrong answer.
Actually, Rosie, will you get in our DMs and DM people back?
Rosie, what up?
Our media manager, Rosie, is here. She's the one helping us with the Explain It podcast.
Shout out, Rosie.
Shout out to Rosie and Eric behind the scenes. So you can message us on Instagram. My Instagram is at the Caroline Cain, and then
mine is Ingryd_Hernandez. But yeah, DM us the word go-giver.
Yes.
There we go.
And then we will definitely put you in a drawing. 3 people will get a free Wealth Without Cash book.
Thank you, guys.
And that was part of something we wanted to do for this special episode.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's a story about you in that book, I believe.
Yes, page 53.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I think it's right now.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I have bought this book 3 different times for myself.
And then somebody takes it.
I have always given it away.
Thank you.
And so finally I was like, I need this on Audible because I haven't been able
to. I'm not going to give this one. You know what's cool is Eric's got a deal right now. He's direct to seller on.
Yes.
It's a foreclosure situation. He's wholesaling the deal to me. And one of the things that happened, it was really great. He's working with the seller. He then says, well, I actually work with a guy named Pace Morby. They're like, oh, we know Pace Morby. We've read his book, Wealth Without Cash. Like the seller said, we've read the book, Wealth Without Cash. And then Eric, they said something super sweet. They're like, he was the only person out of like 10 people we spoke to that actually built rapport. And I'm like, wow,
good job, Eric.
Kudos to Eric. So he's got another deal. So he sold me a duplex. He sold me a 4-plex, and he's now selling me another duplex, all sub-2, just in the last 3 months. Good old Eric.
Is this the one that do you want me to evict?
Campfire effect being around Pace.
No, different.
You got another one. Bro, same one. It's like, bro, slow down a little bit, dog. Like, save a little bit of deals for us. My gosh. Yeah, giving is one of the hardest things ever. So when you look at like, I assume Larry's not watching. Okay, but like Larry Parsons, who just got my $20,000 Toyota Prius.
Yeah.
You have a moment of like, money is such a funny thing. Money is such a funny thing because if you think money is a challenging conversation when you don't have money, wait until you have a lot of money and a lot of opportunity, and you have partners that are tied into that. It's like they will fight to the death over all of this money. Oh my gosh, if I could tell you all the conversations that go on in my life. And so a couple of weeks ago, I was having this conversation with Dan, my coach, and he says, you got to go spend more time with the community. I was also feeling very trapped in my house because of the baby. I'm not like Laura. I want to be out hanging out with the community.
Yeah, you're extroverted.
I'm a very extrovert. I get all my fuel from other people.
Yeah.
Right? And I probably get it from draining them of their energy. So I'm like slurping it up from everybody. So I'm feeling pent up. And he's like, well, you got to get out there and do something. I don't need to be coached all the time, but he's just coaching me for an hour a month on time blocking. And the important things in my life are really about the community. So I invite a bunch of people to play golf. Larry Parsons there. He like wins this thing. And I'll tell you, the car actually was really interesting, but the most important thing of that day was not me deciding to give the car to Larry. what happened was we all go to play golf, and there's somebody, I'm not going to say their name. They might be embarrassed when I say what happened, but they go, who else is coming to play golf? They knew we were getting 8 guys together. So it's going to be like a 4-on-4 action. You and I have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's
scramble.
go golfing after this.
You actually invited me to go golfing, but I wasn't.
I did actually. That was the day.
You texted me. Yeah.
Yeah. So will you go play golf with us?
I golfed in high school.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
Great.
Pace. Don't let Pace. He's a freaking golfer. This man.
Not really.
I'm
sleepy. I'm like sleepy. I won't play golf for a year, and then it'll take me a couple of weeks. I'll pick it back up.
Yeah, you're quick.
But we have a lot of fun, and Caroline and I, a couple of years ago, we would go out in the summer times with a bunch of people, like Kevin Cho. The first time he played golf with us, it was so
Cody.
fun. And honestly, I got so busy with like travel and meeting the community that I hadn't played golf in over a year. And then I played Ryan Pineda last January, beat his ass. Then Eric was there, bro. Did it not feel like Tiger Woods? The white Tiger Woods, bro. Oh, so good. And I'm talking shit into the camera the whole time, like, oh my God, how this is gonna end. This next shot is where I fall apart. And it just did never happen. Anyway, so playing golf was really important because you get out, you spend 4 hours together. You're not talking about work. You're just banging balls around, having a good time. And we're all in the range right before we're going to play golf. And Larry hasn't arrived yet. And there's 6 or 7 of the dudes there. And one of the guys says, what are teams? And I go, this, and Larry Parsons. He's like, Larry Parsons? Oh, not from a personality standpoint. Like, I don't like Larry, but it's like, well, he doesn't play golf. And it's like, we're here to play golf. Type of thing. Like, we're good at golf. And I was like, bro, he needs a leg up. Who cares how good or bad he is? This is not about golf. This is us getting together and just having a good time. And I could tell that was not really how this individual shows up to play golf. He's very competitive and everything else. But dude, like, as we played throughout the day and I'm watching Larry, just like in these moments, he had a couple of little putts that he won the hole for our team.
Oh, wow.
But most of the time he's atrocious, but he had these moments of like triumph. And I watched it and how he needed those wins with what was going on in his life. Like, people don't need $10 million to hit their bank account to have a win. Yeah. They need a putt to win a hole and their friends to cheer them on more than anything else. You know what I'm saying? Like, a little bit of traction, a little bit of momentum, some friendly, like, high fives, that kind of stuff goes miles. So as we're on like hole 10, this individual walks over to me and he's like, dude, I needed this today more than you know. And I go, what do you mean? He's like, I haven't been showing up in other parts of my life because I'm not thinking the way you're thinking. He's like, you treated Larry that way and invited him to play golf with a bunch of great golfers. I thought you were a complete idiot. Now I realize this is what I actually needed to like wrap up the year and going into the next year. And I was like, bro, 2024 is all about giving, man. Like, forget about yourself. And then as we're leaving the golf course, Larry hangs back at the club. This is a private club. He's hanging out. Like, there's a bench at the front door and everybody's dispersing out into the parking lot to go to their cars. And Larry's hanging back. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? You're like, everybody's going to their cars, bro. Like, it's this way. Cause he doesn't know how to walk around a country club. It's weird to walk around a country club. Like, where do you go? What do you do?
Where are we going next?
Yeah. So he's hanging back. He goes, oh, I'm Ubering home. Why? I don't have a car. What? You freaking Ubered here to come hang out with us? He's like, yeah, I didn't want to miss it. This meant the world to me. And I was like, dude, let me take you home. Take him home, do the thing, drop him off at his house. He's in a like studio apartment thing, just needs a win.
Which, by the way, he took on to help serve somebody else who was in a tough spot.
I know.
So he was giving of that. Yeah.
So my son, Asher, was with me. We're on our way home. And we were talking about the day before, let's take some of our cars up to our new Montana house, our 20 acres on 8,000 square foot house and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I had this really small feeling of like, he needs a car. And I was like, oh, let's just give him the car. And then I said, I'm going to give away a car. Somebody DMs me that night when I made the decision, I'm going to give a car away. I didn't know it was going to be Larry at the time. I really wanted him to win it. I ended up giving away the Prius to him. And Quashawn Carter, I gave him $7,200 to go buy a car, right? So 2 people won. And somebody DM'd me that night and it was like, so what's the angle? What's the angle of giving the car away? I was like, I don't know that there is an angle. Like, I don't know how Larry could ever physically, financially, or otherwise help me in any other way at all. Like, I don't know that. And so that's a hard thing, is like, get to a point where when you are giving, even people are constantly criticizing like, what are you, what's in it for you? Why would you do this? And I had that moment. This was like right before the new year. And I just go, I'm doubling down on giving this year. I'm going to just give to confuse the hell out of everybody that watches me and just go, what is he doing it for? I'm like, I'm going to do it just to freaking do it. And it's hard. And you do it all the time. You do it all the time. There's calls and dozens of text messages and stuff where half the time you're rolling your eyes at some of the questions you probably get. And you're just like, oh my gosh, you did not watch the training. You didn't do this. Oh my gosh. But you still fight through that. And you go, I'm going to show up the way that I wish somebody showed up for me when I first started my journey.
Honestly, I think about what if Pace was here?
Yeah.
Like, you are like a father figure, and it's one of those, this is your community. We're here to serve. And, ask my husband, he's like, why do you give so much time away? Or like, why do you spend so much time answering these questions? Like, they're not even legitimate deals for us. Right. And obviously it takes time away from the family and all that. And even you've asked me, he's like, wow, she's like, you have so much patience, with some
I've said the same thing with Pace. I remember when I started doing the daily dial, there would be people and I was like, I just can't get through to them. What do I need to do? And you're like, just be patient. Like sometimes you have to walk through it, but it's tough. I've asked both of you.
It's very hard.
Go on.
Yeah. No. So my point is that like, this is the culture you built. You're either going to be a part of having those values or you're not. And actions speak louder than words. And it's, again, another reason we wanted to have so much impact. We did this podcast knowing, and we've talked about this before, that it was so hard to get started in real estate and feel like every other question out of your mouth is a stupid question. And by the way, Eric, if people are asking questions, I don't know if they are, we're happy to answer. But this is supposed to be a forum. One of these things was also for me to like funnel people here because it does take a lot of time. It does take a lot of time. And like, hey, I want to be there for you. Come to the podcast at 4 p.m. every Wednesday.
And I'll consolidate the conversation.
And I'll be able to answer your question that all these other people
It was literally the reason why I started my podcast. I was like, this was 2017. Yeah, something like that. And 2018. And it was Cody and I, right when we first partnered together, I go, let's do a podcast because I'm just getting peppered with questions. Like this was when I'm getting on bigger podcasts and stuff. And I go, we got to do something. I cannot answer these questions all day long. So I did this 1-800 free conference call thing for like 3 years before we launched the Subto community. And it was like people would dial in on it was Sunday night. I couldn't do it any other night because I was so busy with the other things that Cody and I were doing. And we didn't have teams. We didn't have people yet. We hadn't hired anybody. It was just me and Cody and my wife, basically. And so I started doing these late night calls. I'd walk around my neighborhood on the phone and people would literally have to press 6 to answer a question or ask a question. Like, all right, guys, whoever's got a question, I can't see them. I can't hear them. I don't know how many people are on the call.
Clubhouse.
Wow.
It's like original OG Clubhouse. So I'm like, anybody's got a question, please press 6. And then I had to press like something to call somebody up to allow that. It was all through your phone on a phone call.
That's crazy.
That was our first podcast. We did it that way for a year. Yeah. Because it was like, how do I consolidate all of these questions into one place? And then at that time, that's when Instagram Live became a thing, was like 2017, 2018. So I started doing the podcast on Instagram Live. Then somebody came to me like, yo, dude, when you do an Instagram Live, nobody's going to watch that like 2-3 days later. I'm like, yeah, but what else do I do? They're like, YouTube. I'm like, okay, I don't know how to do that. And then it was Ty the Flip Man Taylor that goes, oh, it's StreamYard. Like this was 6 months after StreamYard popped up. He tells me use StreamYard, and then it becomes this thing where other people now start their podcast. So I did it to consolidate it because it takes a lot of freaking time. And it's hard, dude. It is so hard to answer the same question 1,000 times. And so you have to play a game with yourself. It's like, maybe you saw this on my Instagram a couple of months ago. I went and saw Adele.
I love her. Yes, I did.
Oh my gosh.
I talked about your post a few times in a few Zooms. I loved it.
Messed me up.
Yeah.
What it was is I'm like, first off, this girl goes and spends 10 years of her life to create a catalog, maybe 15 years of a catalog. And then 15 years prior to that to like practice well enough to write one good song. You write one good song. Guess what you have to do as a singer now? Sing it for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you're not done. You're not like, hey, I did an album. That's that album. I'm not going back to that. It's like, no, dude, we're going to give you Caesar's Palace residency
every weekend, twice a weekend,
two shows a night, 4 nights a week. This lady is cranking. Oh my gosh. And she acts with like the euphoria and bliss as if it's the first time she's ever sung the song. And I'm like, that's a professional. And more importantly, she was sick, sick as a dog. She was pulling out tissues and going off microphone to cough and sneeze and do all this kind of stuff. But she performed and she got people laughing and she turned her sickness into part of the show.
Right. We gotta go see Adele.
That's one of our things to do.
Oh my
before
gosh,
she leaves,
dude! So my ticket was $2,500 for one seat.
I don't think we're doing that one.
Homeboy next to me paid 41 G's.
What?
Yeah. So they got like 3 or 4 seats together. I had the one seat that had not been bought and it was like a single solo seat. So I got a discount. People were dropping 40 G's.
Wait, you went by yourself?
Yeah, I was right after an event. Like, I don't drink and party. So like,
same.
People want me to go to their VIP event. So I go speak on stage. They go, hey, will you come to the VIP event and like shake hands with everybody? They want to meet you. Cool. No problem. So I'll do that for an hour. And then I'm like, how do I sneak out? So I sneak out. Like, what am I going to do? My flight's not till tomorrow morning. So I go, all right, am I going to go to like Cirque du Soleil by myself? And I was like, no, Adele, which is so like, it's gay.
Epic.
Like a little
no,
bit,
that's
like,
epic.
It's a gay. It's like,
she's amazing.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like, as a single dude going to a woman's show,
a single married dude.
And so she was like, this is what she says. She goes, okay, how many couples are here tonight? And then she was like, how many gay men are here tonight? I was like, I almost raised my hand, just like, oh wait, no, I'm not. So I just looking at the professionalism and like what it really takes for.
We got a question.
Oh, we got a question. Good.
Oh, it's
Can they go to Adele show with us in the future? Yeah, absolutely.
A question from Tanisha.
Ooh.
Tanisha.
How did the Go-Giver principles change your perspective on service and success for yourself and others?
Can we hear you? Can they hear you?
It's up on the screen.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Tanisha asked a question about how did the Go-Giver principles change? They didn't. Somebody told me to read the Go-Giver and they said, you remind me of the Go-Giver. I go, what's the Go-Giver?
Yeah.
And it was Brandon Simmons. He was about to start a podcast, or not a podcast, but a mastermind, a very important mastermind in my life. Very similar to what you guys are doing at the Mindset Manor. It's like getting people collectively together. And, it's not without challenges, right? But Brandon Simmons here locally was like, let's get all of the big real estate investors here locally into a room, and we're going to call it the Go-Giver Mastermind. But he sent me this book and he goes, this reminds me of you. You just like take people in your car, do this thing for people. Everybody in town in 2015, 16, and 17 were calling me crazy. Like, you're crazy. You're just like taking people in your Prius. You're doing things. You're just changing people's lives. I'm like, what the freak else are we supposed to be doing? I don't get it.
Yeah.
And he sent me that book and he says, this book reminds me of you. In fact, you should have been the one that wrote the book. I was like, so I read it while I was running around the block, actually a couple miles away when I used to live somewhere not too far from here. And I was running around and I didn't stop running until the end of the audiobook because I was like, oh my gosh, these are principles that my parents gave me. And this is what I naturally want to do is just give. And most of the criticism is I give too much. Because again, you want to cripple a man, give him crutches. And so I give people things too much. I give partners too much. I give employees too much. I give people too much. And so I get in trouble a lot from giving too much. And so one thing I can tell you I have had to change is I have had to start giving with intention. I'll give you a couple of times giving has really hurt me.
Yeah.
Mostly when I show up in relationships in my life professionally and I do more than what I'm expected, if I'm not equally yoked with that other person, meaning they're not an equal giver, I will overcompensate. And what will happen is they will perform 20%, 30% less than I will because I just show up more often. So that's a weakness. And you have to understand that and be aware of that, especially in a professional setting. It's tough to pull back the reins and go, I can't be the natural person that I am. But where it has hurt me very specifically is when we first launched the Subto community, there was this thing I go, I'm going to try and do something really fun. Do you remember this?
I remember this. This was right after I joined.
Oh yeah.
And she got
$53,000.
Yeah.
You didn't know about this?
Never heard from her again.
The tough thing, like, even though you're an OG in Subto, like there's stories that we had.
I was like around 2000. I don't feel like I'm that OG-ish.
I'd say the first like 6,000 are pretty OG.
Oh,
right?
okay. Cool.
Like
I'm OG.
in 4 years, the first 15,000 are going to be OG. Like they're going to be,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, you're in the first 15,000. But anyway, I go, I wanted to start doing a lot more with the community all over the country. This is before I was like bouncing around, like going to every city and state like I did last year and the year before. So I go, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you guys how to get a deal from a probate attorney. I'll lock it up. I'll do the negotiation. I'll then partner with a Subto student on it, 50-50. I'll fund the deal, run the construction, sell the deal, get my wife to sell it, blah, blah, blah. I'll fund everything all the way along, and I'll cut you a check for 50-50 on the deal. It was like, what?
It was insane.
It was insane. So I documented the whole entire thing. Like, here's my probate calls. Here's the contract. Here's the thing. Got the house. Great testimonial from the seller. Great testimony from the probate attorney. And what happened is I had this student inside my Slack channel watching exactly how my team does flips and how the paperwork works and da, 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 da. And the expectation I have for a lot of students that I do things for, like this last 6 months, I spent, I don't know, probably $150,000 in cash on legal fees for students who are buying businesses that need attorneys to help like craft all the purchases, right? The mergers and acquisitions. And my expectation is I'm going to give you a $10,000 fee. I'm going to pay Matt Sorensen's fee. Matt Sorensen's the business buying attorney that I use for our businesses. And I'll pay the $10,000 for Matt to help you with your business as long as you and him put a series of like 4 or 5 Zooms together and then go put that in the Zoom vault for all the Subto students. For me, that's $10,000 I'm happy to pay for so everybody can go and watch it. And oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how many freaking people are now buying businesses. It's the freaking craziest thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I give this girl $53,000 and I'm like, all right, what I want you to do is help out with like showing people how we did this flip and how we did this. And what happened, Caroline?
Never heard from her again.
Never heard from her again. Yeah. It was like she was so active in the community. The second she got the $53,000,
wow.
Out.
We had a situation like that. Remember? So I remember this because this is right when I joined Subto, and I was just like, this guy's crazy. Like I just remember I would show your Zooms to everybody. I was like, he is the real deal. He's giving this all away. And then when I joined and you had called one of my sellers, I was one of the first people on the Google sheet. Actually, the person tip for everybody, because this happened to me the other day. If you're going to have Pace or you're going to have somebody call your lead, make sure you have that lead ready to go. Because the person in front of me did not prepare them. So they were going to call them at the time you were going to call their seller. Didn't answer. I had been talking to my seller. I was like, we were prepping the day before. I was like, hey, at 9 o'clock, like we got a call. Are you ready?
Between 9 and 9:15, my partner Pace is going to give you a call.
I was like, 8:30, we're ready to roll. The guy in front of me didn't. So I got to bump my guy up. He spent like 45 minutes.
That was a good call.
RV park in Conroe. But then you're like, hey, come join my team. I came out with Kelly and then we did the No Excuses program.
Oh my God.
And I was the first one to close the deal from the No Excuses program with one of the students. And I think the student walked away.
I forgot about the No Excuses program. Do you know about this?
I remember the No Excuses program,
I would generate all the leads on my dollar. Caroline and my acquisition team would literally close the deal for them, do the disposition, and we'd give them like half of the
50%. And I remember the guy's name. I think he actually might still be in Subto, but we made $25,000 as a whole, and he walked away with 12.5. Never heard from him again.
Yep.
And I even like asked him, hey, can you say something?
It's so tough because, whether you hate him or you love him, Donald Trump, I was with him 3 months ago in this really private room, like for an all day thing. And he had this really great thing he hit me with. He was like, I go, I don't think this is my community is ready for the next level of what I want to do. And he's like, his answer was, let the work filter them out. That was the only thing he said. I said, oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's the same thing with giving.
That's
it's
profound.
Like, it's so profound.
Are you sure he said it?
He did.
Okay. I'm just checking.
He's really dumb in a lot of ways and super embarrassing to have as a president of the United States of America. He's not very presidential.
Even our current one, just so that, we're equally disappointed.
All of them. They're all disappointing. It's like, why can't we just get like somebody super bad? Like, can't Tony Stark just become the president of the United States?
I'm like, Mark Cuban.
I heard
Mark Cuban would be dope.
Yeah.
I'd like Mark Cuban. I would like, I think The Rock would be pretty good.
I heard he's actually
very diplomatic. I think he'd be good. There's a presidential air that has been lacking from the office for the last several years, obviously. So he says this, and I've now applied it to other parts of my life. And I go, I'm going to continue to give, and I will let my giving filter the people out that don't deserve it. And I'm not going to choose whether they deserve it or not. they're going to choose whether they deserve it a second time.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are times where you give away your time, your energy, your freedom, everything to other people. But at the end of the day, that's really why we're here, right? It's like my favorite quote right here by George Bernard Shaw that talks about like, I want to be served. I want to be used as a purpose, or I want to be used for a purpose that is deemed worthy by me. And that is helping people that were in a position I was in 10 years ago to cut that learning curve by a 3x margin.
Yeah.
So it's tough. Giving is a really hard thing, especially when you're sitting there. The hardest thing is like when you go from, I don't have shit in my bank account to now I have a couple $1,000s and you're going, I want to give, I want to help. Okay. Well, you don't have to give your money, but give some time, go down and serve hot meals and do cool shit like that.
Yeah.
Am I not allowed to cuss on your podcast?
No,
Fuck yeah, you are.
Okay. Cool.
So I had two things I want to say on that. So one of them, I first have a question, and then I pulled my phone out earlier because I started doing this. So I'm gonna go the second one I was going to say. When you gave, and things that I've realized, like we give to people and it's like, man, this is like taking a lot of time. But what really stuck out to me when I messaged you on Instagram and when you made my call for me to my seller, because I didn't know how to talk about land or comp land, and you're like, whatever, and you blew me out of the water, is how I remember how I felt.
Yes.
And when you talk to Pace, like when you look at somebody, it's like, oh my gosh, like he sees my soul right now. And you see me in like, I don't have a soul because I'm a ginger, but if I did, it'd be profound. But you're a guy, literally, I remember we jump off your roof into your pool and you're like, here, take some clothes. I'm like, I'm going to jump off. All I have are the clothes I'm in. You're like, here's, take some of my clothes with me. You give the shirt off your back. You give cars away. You've given houses away to people. It's nuts what you do. So, but I started doing this and I have a section saved on my Facebook, and it's a little, you guys can save posts on Facebook. And whenever I see the posts that people share, I think we're both a little empathetic on certain things. The messages that you get, I get the same thing all the time. And I love it when like we take the time out of our day to help somebody. Yeah. And I'm a words of affirmation girl. Like
Me too.
We come from larger families and maybe we just weren't told it enough as kids. So it means like, hey, I love you, or whatever you've done is really great.
That's a really interesting conversation, Caroline. My wife doesn't want to have more children because of that exact thing. She's like, I don't know how your mom had the attention to give to you. And I'm like, I don't know that she did. So that's probably why I'm always looking for a mommy to tell me she loves me.
It's true. And I mean, I'm one of 4. So, I mean, still, and we had twins at the end, but it's the words of affirmation is really big. So whenever somebody messages me, and I have so many people, my eyes sweat when I see the things that people tell me, like, I'm like, this is so, I love it. And you made me feel like that when we first got started. And, you know, I've cried with you before about certain things, and you've changed my life. Like we went skydiving. I'm going back in 2 weeks, going to go skydiving again.
I saw that. It's exciting.
But I went skydiving with you last January. And I remember like when I got off, I was like, I love my life right now. And I remember when I joined Subto, I was excited, but I was really going through a lot of things personally, and I was really struggling. And it was one of those things I have gone to therapy, and I've had opportunities, and I've realized I need to set boundaries and protect myself. And I'm a lot happier with the community and the culture that we've created. Yeah. And it starts at the top. Like I know it's a community all around, but like the community and the culture wouldn't be what it is without you. And like,
I couldn't have done any of this without you.
Well,
I can tell you, you are, Caroline and I don't talk like every day, but she's one of the very few people that helps me the most every day. Every single day, this woman helps me so much more than most people in my life. And she does it silently. She shows up every day. Consistency, the number one most valuable character trait that you have, and any human being can ever have. People go, how do I become your friend? Number one, consistency. If you can't even be consistent in your own life, like I can't vibe with you. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It just means you have to be able to do some things consistently. You're going to have some bad days, but you're going to show right back up, get right back on that horse.
Yeah.
And so the consistency I saw with you in the very beginning, and the fact that you've hung in for 3 years consistently every day, and more importantly, gotten better and better and better and more efficient, and you figured out ways to make it more fun. It's very much like an Adele thing of like, Adele, right before she goes on stage, she goes, all right, I guess I got to sing Let It Rain or whatever the hell that song is,
Set fire to the rain.
Set fire to the rain. I guess I got to sing that. The people want it. Deep breath, exhale, get to work and do your job. And so consistency is the number one thing that I appreciate about any human being, and most importantly, you.
Well, thank you. And you saw something in me that other people didn't. And I love what I do. I love who I get to hang out with. I have a lot of fun, and I've had to watch myself because I've gotten into situations where I would pour way too much.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is taking me away from what my goal is. So I've had, and I've talked to you about this before, and I'm like, I rip off and duplicate. I'm like, what is Pace do? Okay, this is great. Cause I have ADHD. So being able to see, okay, this is how you're doing stuff. This is, again, clearing out my inbox. This is how you give me the roadmap. I'm a freaking workhorse and I'll do it. So, the whole, if anybody's struggling with that, it's really nice. Words of affirmation. We all like words of affirmation. So if you want to give us those, but
yeah, I also like it when people apologize for something they did and they take responsibility. Like, did you see my post the other day?
I
did not. Which one?
It was
it was a letter.
There was a letter. Somebody sent me an email, and basically it was saying, I got kicked out of this community because I screwed another student.
Oh.
And I am so sorry for all of these reasons. I take full responsibility. I did it out of greed. I did it out of the old person I was. I knew the second I did it that it was against the culture of which I loved. He's like, I basically smacked the whole community in the face by the way I acted. And he's like, it took me a year to essentially get Alex Salazar, who he screwed over, to get him to apologize. And Alex Salazar accepted his apology and let him come back into the community.
Wow.
And I look at that and I'm like, that is also the spirit of the community, is letting everybody make some mistakes and apologize, overcome it. But when people don't take responsibility, that is something I hate more than anything else. So that was one of the cool. Did you actually read the letter?
I did.
It's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, it was very, very professional, like and heartfelt. Like,
like I screwed up. In a big way, I screwed up. And I didn't put his name there because I didn't want people to know. But it's just so cool that even Alex Salazar.
Do you know something that happened to me recently that will happen to me? I had to apologize for something I didn't know it
Tell
do.
me.
So somebody in the community blocked me. And I didn't know why. I was like, what did I do? Like, what did I do? And
what the heck could Ingryd have done?
Well, sometimes I'm playful.
Is it who I think it was that we were?
No, I don't want to say his name because I don't put him out there.
Yeah.
But like one of the things I said, and because I goof around a lot, and I said like, oh, your last name is that, and you don't speak Spanish, and I'm like, I don't, again, the context.
That's how I speak.
I know,
my love language is teasing people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Right. But this person, and I have a lot of respect for
If
him.
I tease you, that means I love you.
That's how I see it.
You think they can take it. You think they can take it. Yeah.
Like, hey,
teasing's
you're like, if we can't tease you, I tease my husband all the time. He teases me every day.
I have to be careful though. I'll tease people too early and they don't know who I am and they think I'm an ass. I get labeled that. I do that too much sometimes.
That was part of the equation. Yeah. Again, context within the context of how we were speaking. And so all of a sudden I needed him because he was going into a space that it was group home space. And I was like, I can't get a hold of him. Like, wait, they blocked me.
Did he tell you? Did he tell you why? And like, did you guys overcome it?
I confronted him. I was like, why don't you love me?
How aggressive the word is there too.
And I don't know if he's unblocked me, but I apologize. Because I would never want to hurt somebody like
intentionally.
Like nefariously. Like it
is tough though. Like to give you credit, it's tough to be like, guys, we're not like 8 years old anymore.
But one of the things he said he was protecting his energy at the time.
That's a little intense.
Yeah, you think?
Yes, that's a little intense. Right. Like not letting somebody in the community tease you a little bit. Like you should be old enough to know that is how people speak love into you. Like people will tease me. I will tease you.
Yeah.
We'll make jokes with each other. That's what family does.
Yeah.
And so maybe he has some trauma from the past of like, maybe somebody treated him a certain way. I get that.
Yeah.
But like, you should be old enough to know like, oh, she's actually showing me love in a teasing way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I get it. I appreciate
But all to say, and again, we're all I'm saying is that we all do things, maybe have some infractions against someone. And then, I really appreciate that he told me what was really happening and I got the chance to apologize,
That's great.
So anyway.
Caroline, we cut you off twice.
Yeah, it's okay. My second thing was, and this is something because I will do something. I'm like, why do you do it this way? One of the things I love about Kevin Cho, I tell so many people about this in the new Zooms, and just for anybody else, I also tell them, if you guys can't take constructive criticism, like you're in the wrong space because you give love in a teasing fun way, but you'll call us out when we're knuckleheads. So I appreciate that.
Chaos Kevin.
It's coming from a spot of love. But like with Kevin, I loved that he would come in and you'd tell him like, go make a mess and come back and I'll tell you how to fix it. So I'm always curious, especially when I got started, How did you get over selflessly giving and expecting nothing in return and being taken advantage of as many times as you have? Because I see you getting taken advantage of. You know, I try and protect your energy when I'm around you because we can see things.
You're one of my if I could have you travel with me everywhere I went. Eric is really good about this. Actually, Eric recently came to me in my kitchen. Horrible communicator. And he's really good at a lot of things. One thing is he comes in, he's like, so I basically like what he said in about a 40-minute way is like, I want to quit. But that's not what he said. That's what he expressed, but that's not what he was trying to say.
Oh.
Anyway, I was like, no, I love traveling with you. You protect my energy. You're like my bodyguard. You're my confidant. We'll share a hotel room a lot of times. He doesn't like sharing hotel rooms with me because I freeze you out, don't I?
Oh, that's the best way to sleep.
Anyway, so same thing with you. Where I'm like, when Caroline is in a room with me and it's a room of 200 or 300 people, I go, I'm good.
Yeah.
Caroline's here.
I seen her in the masterminds.
Yeah. She's just so good. I'm like, how do I never lose Caroline from my life? I think everybody feels that way about you.
It's, you know how many people have reached out to me, and you know when somebody's reaching out to you, not because they want to, another great paceism, before you reach out and ask somebody for something, tell them how grateful you are, and then don't even ask them. And then typically they want to give you. So many people reach out to me like, man, I'm starting a community and I could really use you. And I'm just like, dude, I'm like, it's not like, how can I clone your DNA? It's like, I don't even know you like that. What are you doing asking to like snap? Like, what is this? So
one thing that's really hard is that I can tell you one of the hardest things about building a community is that everybody wants to duplicate what I've done.
Yeah.
And they don't have the spirit and the energy to do the thing. They don't naturally wake up and feel that way. So it's like, how do I check the boxes that Pace has done? It's like the difference was there weren't boxes for me to check. I just do the thing naturally. It's like, if you just let a dog roam all day long, the dog's going to do what the dog's going to do. What I do when I roam is I build a community. It's what I naturally do. It's like, damn, this dog over here building a community. Sheesh. So I'll get people. It's really tough. The hardest thing is giving to people. And then very quickly they go, oh, I'm going to go do my own thing over here. I'm like, dude, I poured into you so you could pour back into the community. Like that. Well, I want to do my own thing. Two months ago, you didn't know how to scratch your own butt in real estate. Now I helped you. In fact, there's people that I will buy deals from, namely Kevin Cho, that are not phenomenal deals.
A lot of them you're not cash flowing on.
There's like probably 20% of the ones I bought from him, they were break even on cash flow. Ooh. But I did this because I was like, I love how much you're serving our local community. And Kevin also has no ulterior motives. Other people that I've poured into will come to me and go, oh, I want to help the community. I want to help the community. Next thing you know, they're not wearing their Subto gear.
Yep.
They're like going and creating their own thing. But then they're like, Pace, I want more time and energy from you. Will you tag me? Will you do this? Will you do that? I'm like, you're trying to steal from me, dude. And what you've done is you've taken resources from this community, which we're trying to do together. And you're going and trying to do this thing. Like, you're forgetting that this is a place for us to all make money together, but you just want to have an ego over here. That's a hard thing. I watch it frequently.
Yeah.
And instead of them going, hey, Pace, I want to do this thing over here. Can you help me? Like, I'll give you a good example. Tanisha. Tanisha comes to me. She's just giving. And I go, you should start a midterm rental thing where you'd like do consulting and whatever else. She's like, are you okay with that? I'm like, okay with that. I would encourage that. Elena Tang, same thing with you. If you had a unique thing, you're like, I would love to have people charge people for consulting. I'm like, I love that. You could build a whole entire business inside of the community by providing value to the people in the community. But what'll happen is people go, I'm going to start my own creative financing. I'm like, bro, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
You make me cringe. Go focus on midterm rental or RV parks or this niche or group homes or this. Like, do the niche within the thing and you can thrive inside of here. Like, why do you need to go and like compete? Right.
Yeah.
And why do you feel like you have to compete? And what it is they get entitlement. Entitlement grows when people forget how they felt 3 months ago.
Yeah.
We'd be knocking over these backrest.
My bad.
We got to get different chairs, dude. This happens like almost every podcast.
I didn't even know it was happening.
No, you're good. Go ahead though.
So anyway, it is really hard. And to give you an answer that's not that magical, I don't let it. It's never bothered me
ever.
Wow.
It
wears on my wife so much because she's watched it for 16 years. Like, even when I went to go pick her up from a date, my love language is just giving. Right. Yeah. And so it's natural for me. I go to pick her up for a
It
date.
could be, yeah.
She sends me a text that day, before we physically meet ever. I find out she's with her parents. She's 21 years old. She's got her own baby. She moved back in with her parents, and I'm going to pick her up. And I'm 24 at the time. Okay. And she goes, yeah, my dad loves golf. And, you know, I grew up loving golf and blah, blah, blah. And I owned a golf company at the time.
And now you have a son named
Hey,
Phil.
actually-
what's the golf ball company?
Dicks
called?
and Balls. It's Dixon Golf.
Yeah.
Dixon. And DixonGolf.com. So I still own 10% of that company.
Mhm.
But at the time I owned 50% of it. That was my primary. Every day I woke up and I was running this golf company. And I got her golf balls. I got her dad's name printed on these golf balls. And I met her on Facebook Messenger that night. The next day I had printed golf balls with her dad's name on it. And I would knock. She's like, okay, she's coming out. I go, well, hold on. I want to meet your parents. She's like, what the freak? When was the last time a man wanted to meet my parents?
What am I, 16?
And I'm like, hey, this is like how I operate. So I give her dad the golf balls. And even to this day, that stuck in my mind. So everything, when I give my wife something for her birthday, it's actually giving my wife the opportunity to give her dad a golf experience. So like we got married in Pebble Beach. I took her dad to play Pebble Beach, which is like the top golf course in the world.
Mhm.
I'm taking him to the Masters this year. But it's always a gift I give to my wife, because that was one of the first things she told me about her dad. And that stuck with me of like, that is how she sees her dad. I'm going to pour energy into that until the day she dies.
Mhm.
And so I just think it's a natural thing for me. It does hurt, because then mathematically I think about like, what else could I have done with that money?
Yeah.
But then I also realize, like, think about like Rob and Rob Esslinger. Yeah. The Esslinger. So they come to me and they go,
Brenda.
hey, we're trying to buy this.
Rob and Brenda.
Yeah.
Rob
Rob and Brenda. They come to me and they go, we want to buy this laundromat.
Mhm.
We don't have the money to afford an attorney and do all this kind of stuff. And you're trying to create, do this creative finance business acquisition thing, which we're building out and doing all this stuff. We need some help. And I go, call my attorney. I'll pay for the whole thing, do the recordings. It doesn't work out. It doesn't work out because the seller changed terms, but it gave them enough confidence, and they walk through another one. They go, we're just going to go do this again. So they have the confidence to go into the next thing. And now they go and buy this coffee shop that's now producing money,
I saw that,
and they're putting it together, and they're so excited. Their first thing was, I can't wait to show other people in the community how we did this.
That's right.
That one thing makes everybody else screwing me over worth it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, it's the same thing when I watch you do a deal with somebody in the freaking wholesale hotline side chat, and you make 50 G's, this dude makes 50 G's. Those kind of things make an impression on me for the rest of my life, that's how I see you. That's how I'll see you for the rest of your life. Caroline running the Daily Dial and changing thousands of people's lives is how I will see her for the rest of her life, no matter where she's in 10 years or whatever it is. And so I think I just I don't choose. I naturally, Tanisha, I can't get past the way I feel about Tanisha, because she was the most funny thing. You get people go, you say ambiguously to people, provide value to people in the community. It's very ambiguous, right? It's not very specific. Provide value, go find somebody and provide value. Tanisha comes in not knowing anything really about real estate, other than real estate is actually word in the dictionary, right? And she comes into Subto, shy as all can be, not having her camera on. She starts making comments in the Zoom chat of giving people links, then identifying. Pace says the same things. He's Adele. He has to sing Set Fire to the Rain 85 times per Zoom call. How about I just create the most commonly asked questions, and instead of Pace having to go find the link, I'll provide the link as he's answering the question. And I will almost make a race of it. As somebody's about to ask a question, I've already put the answer in the chat before Pace could even finish hearing their question.
Yeah.
She still does it.
I had never spoken to Tanisha to ever do this. She just saw this, and I go, this is the spirit of which like this whole community has to thrive on.
Yeah.
And I'll never think of her any other way than that.
I don't think I smiled so much during one of our podcasts. My face hurts because there's such really great people like that. Rob and Brenda, Tanisha, Kevin. I'm buying a deal from Kevin, by the way. Yeah.
How dare you?
No, it's a wrap. You don't do
perfect.
wraps.
We do one a month. I stay away from them.
It's like a sandwich wrap.
Receiving love language.
Sex. Like if I'm a dude, like straight up guys, like I'm telling you right now, this is the funniest thing about women too.
What's option 2?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not giving you that.
This is the thing about women. Okay. Women do not understand this truly. Like you could, I think you do, because you and I've had funny conversations about this. I think you understand this about men.
Okay.
The man in your life wants one thing.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, I gave him that thing on Tuesday. It's Thursday. Now what does he want? That thing
every day. Yeah.
God designed him that way.
So
he cannot help it.
Keston just did a 7-day fast, and I was reading to Mark all the
like
things
no
he
sex,
did, and it said no food and no sex, and Mark's like, "What? 7 days?"
Wow.
I think that's so funny you said that.
I mean, there's times where like, you know, Laura just gave birth to a baby, so I'm not having sex for 6 weeks.
He probably picked her period week.
Of course, they're smart.
Set it up.
It's the only way it's gonna happen. But like, for real, women out there that are like, yo, what do I get my husband for his birthday? That ass. I'm sorry to be a little bit grotesque, but that's the answer to the question. Write it down.
Okay, for non-wife, not your wife. Like what would be your receipt?
It's very simple. You guys do it so well. And what I love more than anything is watching people independently doing deals inside of the community and uplifting each other. It shows me that all my sacrifice, the work, the vision, the people literally telling me that I'm a lunatic when I painted this vision out. Even Josiah, my partner today, who benefits significantly financially off of Subto. I benefit from buying deals. Josiah benefits from the membership fee. Okay, that's how the situation set up. Josiah is telling me, you're a lunatic, dude. Like, this isn't going to work. This is not a possibility. I don't know why you want to do this. And today, to be edified by nothing more than your guys' actions with each other, and I get to just sit by like a proud parent watching their kids playing nicely to each other and making money with each other. I'm like, I couldn't be more happy. I told my wife about a year ago, I go, if I died today, I've accomplished what more people in their life will never accomplish. I've done it.
Yeah.
I do have a hard time of like, now what? Like, what now that I've accomplished this thing and we as a collective group have accomplished this thing, the only thing to do is make it more efficient, make it better, which is hard because now it's like, it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. So again, my love language is watching people do things for other people inside of our community. One of the reasons I love Tanisha so much, so love you. I love you. And so many of our OGs. I mean, so I listed this out. We have over 10,000 members in Subto, and I've memorized a little over 4,000 of their names. Okay. I know their faces. I know their spouses. I know their kids. I know their whatever. But then what's cool is I watch people that I've never met in Subto get value from somebody else in Subto who was maybe one of those 4,000 people. They end up partnering together. They then hire another Subto student that I've never met before, and they create this little triad. Like this, it's the greatest thing in my life. I feel like I've accomplished and won the lottery.
That's so awesome.
What else could I ever get?
That's amazing.
Josiah asked me the other day, he goes, hey, he gave me a Rolex we bought this 160 unit multifamily deal. Yeah. And he gives me this Rolex as congratulations. I'm like, as you can see, I'm not wearing it. Like, I couldn't give a shit. But I go, the other day he goes, if I could get you an extra $5 million on this one transaction on this such and such, he's like, what would you do with that? I go, I don't know, buy more Subto hoodies. I don't know. What would I do? It's not about the money. It's really, truly about like, how do I continue to do the same thing? And a lot of the stuff that happens in the community, when somebody does something really amazing to somebody else, it just gives the other people permission to be themselves. Yeah. And I just freaking love that.
Yeah. 100%. You know, something you gave me,
hit the AC.
You gave me an opening, but, I lost it, but I think we've come back full circle. So before I came here, me and Marlon were doing a reel just to remind people of our mastermind. Yeah. But he asked me like, hey, what are you doing your podcast about? And I was like, well, besides it being our 1-year anniversary, because we've been so consistent and committed, I was embarrassed to even ask you to come onto the podcast until we proved to Dad, to Papa Pace, that we were committed to this podcast. Do you know it was like over 50% of podcasts don't even make it to the 3rd episode?
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
It's really and so I was going to give you that stat because I was like, this is where we need to be proud of ourselves because
guys, I cannot tell you how significant a year is. if I told you how long it took for me to get to where you're at right now in terms of viewership, it took me 2.5 years to get to where you are in 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are way ahead of me.
Wow. Well, it's
Way ahead
because of you though.
No, it's because you guys took action. And yes, maybe I was your brother that was like setting the example and all of that. Yeah, but you took action. And it's so hard to do it. Like you can come up with 100 other things to do besides the thing.
Yeah.
And the fact that you've gone a year, Wholesale Hotline is coming on our 4th year. In 6 weeks will be 4 years, right?
Wow.
And if I die, I want to be known and recognized as a go-giver more than anything. Secondly, I want people to be like, that dude showed up.
Yeah.
And consistency is so amazing. So 50% of podcasts never get past their 3rd episode. This is the most amazing thing when people go, the world's competitive. Everything's competitive. It's hard. No, it's not.
Just be consistent.
Do 4 episodes, dude. You'll literally beat 50% of everybody.
For sure.
It's the same thing with real estate too. It's like, is it really competitive? There's people that are trying to do their first deal, but like beyond that, it really is not that competitive because most people just go, wait, it requires 4 weeks of work. Oh no, I'm not doing that. I just want to react all day long. I don't want to create. And so what you're doing here in creating a podcast for a year, like what could you not do now that you have the discipline of a weekly podcast?
Yeah, totally.
Anything.
Well,
jump
now we have Rosie. So Rosie's going to help us monetize it a bit
I love it.
Because we've proven to people out there that we're consistent and that they can count on us.
Yeah.
But
like a pastor at a local church, like if you fall away from the church, but you come back 6 months later, guess who's going to be there at the pulpit?
Yeah.
That pastor.
Yeah.
Right? Like I need a consistent person in my life. If the people in your world are in, one of my favorite quotes. You want to hear something really cool? Do you remember the quote I was talking about with like, if the leader, what the leader does in, what the leader does in moderation gives the followers permission to do in excess. Okay. So what I mean by that is like, if you screw up a little bit, it gives everybody else permission to like screw up a lot. Right. Cause they're like, oh, Ingryd and Caroline are not consistent. I don't need to be consistent. So one of the hardest things about being like a pastor or a leader of whatever is like, I cannot screw up because what it does is it gives them permission to screw up 10 times more. Like, oh, they skipped their podcast 8 weeks in a row. That means I can put mine off. I can put mine off. I can put mine off. So one of the greatest things that you do by being consistent is showing people like it's a requirement. This is a requirement. You just got to do the freaking work.
Yeah.
And they don't wake up in the morning and go, wow, these people taught me how to be consistent. But you set an example of like what life should look like. And more subconsciously, it shows up in their daily lives and they don't recognize it for years. And then they wake up a couple of years later, like, damn, it was because of Caroline and Ingryd, like showing me the path.
Yeah, for sure.
It's sick.
Well, one of the things that's really cool about it too, even just talking about like the Adele, I used to ask you how you could do those Zooms for 12 hours.
Yeah.
And I remember you said you used to sometimes lay down on the floor and hype yourself up for it. There's times
I do that in here all the time in my Zoom room. I'll lay down right before I do a Zoom for 5 hours.
Because you don't always want to do it. But one of the things is discipline is doing the things you don't want to right now to have freedom to do whatever you want in the future. And it's really cool because I've heard you and Laura talk about this and I've seen the things now because I've known you since the beginning of this. Like you're so much more available to be around your kids.
Yeah.
That's really cool that you can you pick up the girls from school and stuff. You guys go and do stuff whenever you want and you're not, can I take time off to go see my kids? So that's been a really good blueprint as well. Yeah. Go ahead though.
So the thing I was talking about, Marlon.
Oh yeah.
For those of you who want to hang out with me and Caroline, February 2nd through the 4th, one of the things that Marlon actually brought it up. He's like, oh, you're doing a Go Giver podcast? He's like, yeah. He's like, let's give away one of the mastermind tickets then for February 2nd, February 4th. Now you guys have to get here and have your own place to stay. But if you guys know somebody who is deserving of getting some clarity,
how can somebody get a ticket for that?
So today what they do is they either go to Marlon or mine's Instagram and in our link tree, there's like the mastermind link and people sign up.
Okay.
So Marlon was like, let's just give away a ticket. And so if you know someone, it could be yourself, but what we really want is you to tag somebody else.
No, don't do this.
No.
I will buy the ticket.
What?
Don't ever give your shit away for free.
Really?
You're too valuable for that. Let me buy it. What I would do in the future is somebody needs to donate a ticket. Somebody needs to buy a ticket. You're too valuable to give it away for free.
Yeah.
I will pay for it. Somebody in the thing, I will pay for it. It's not a free ticket. Okay. Eric, you pointing at me? Are you pointing? Is that camera pointing at me? It is not a free ticket. Somebody's going to pay for it for you guys. What do they have to do to get it?
So what we were going to say, he and I just posted a reel. So tag somebody's name, and then we were going to say hit scholarship, but I think now we're going to have to say name and then maybe mastermind afterwards.
Love it.
Yeah. Wow.
Name, mastermind, thank you, Pace.
And then say thank you, Pace, for sure. Absolutely. Wow. That's thank you.
Come on.
The go-giver.
You've done 1,000
that was not staged. The staging was me and Marlon saying, let's give away a ticket. But like, what?
One thing I've learned in the last like several years is, from a marketing standpoint, of like having the confidence of knowing how valuable you are compared to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that about yourself,
yeah.
right? You've been around the industry to know that there's people that are good and there's people that are not great.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would suggest to you and Marlon, from a marketing standpoint, there's no such thing as a discount and there's no such thing as free. I would rather you guys say, who wants to sponsor a ticket for somebody else, so that there's never an illusion that this is free. I would never give it away for free.
Yeah.
Scholarship paid for. I'll give somebody a scholarship.
Papa Pace scholarship.
One of the things I love about you is you've said this on a lot of things, and I really appreciate it. I actually just paid for a little bit of a mentor in a different area, because I'm like, well, I want to be around them, I want to be closer to them, I want to pay for their product,
right?
And then
I do that all the time.
Yeah, it's really.
I do it all the time. Hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I'll give you some specific ones, because some of these people are not listening to this show. No offense. They don't listen to my show.
No, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They don't listen to my show. But like, I wanted to be close to Dean Graziosi.
Mm-hmm.
I promoted his thing and I reimbursed everybody that bought his thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was like $300,000 I lost on it.
Mm.
But guess what I did? I won his challenge for the second year in a row. Everybody that did the thing got the money reimbursed to them. They got value. He got value. But more importantly, he saw how important it was for me to build that relationship with him. And in a world of everybody that's vying for your attention, fighting for your attention, just for something out of themselves, when you have somebody that is willing to go and spend money for your time, you're like, okay, there's the filter. Like, I got it. You're real. You're not some knucklehead on my Instagram saying, can I have coffee for free?
Can I give you a cup of coffee for an hour of your time? Yeah.
Or 2 hours? Can I pick your brain? Okay.
Yeah, it's never that.
Or like, the craziest thing is like, one of the reasons why I built the YouTube channel was because I said, how do I create answers to every DM that I've ever had?
Mm-hmm.
That was the main reason for the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So you build it, and then you get people that DM you and go, Pace, I've been following you for 2 years. I'd love to, get an hour of your time, pick your brain. I go, have you watched the YouTube channel? Yeah, I've watched every video. There's 2,400 videos, literally 2,400 videos on our YouTube channel. I'm going to say that again. There are 2,400 videos on our YouTube channel. So okay, let's try this out. And I'll take this person out for, this is like a year ago. Take this person out for 30 minutes. Eric and I are together. I go, so what questions do you have that the YouTube channel could not answer? What question do you think this person asked?
How do you plan your day?
What's the difference between subject to and seller finance?
Oh no. Ooh, man.
And I'm like, I thought you watched the YouTube channel. He's like, got his notepad out. I'm like, all right, let me tell you what. I'm like, all right, great. This will be another YouTube video about what the difference between subject to and seller finance is. I'm happy to do it, whatever. So you just see the people that are the people with the free mentality are going to just steal from you. And the buying of relationships is a real thing. Sadly, when I was in my 20s, I was like, if you like me, you like me. Why do we got to play these games? It's like, well, because I realize when people are trying to get my time, they will steal and rob your time from you. And so it's good to have a filter.
Yeah.
And money is the only filter I know.
Yeah. I saw a good quote. It was something like, I didn't realize until the end of my life that everybody was wearing masks.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, because again, coming back into just little things I've learned from you, I was raised Catholic. I was raised to respect and trust everybody. And I blindly thought everybody had things figured out. And I have been gullible and trusted the wrong people in situations. And I've been taken advantage of a lot. Like I do stuff and I'm just like, because I give and I get like ripped off too. And then sometime after I think about it, I'm like, man, that was really fucked up. Like I'm pissed off. Like that's messed up. And then the more I think about it, I have to hang around people like, hey, listen, don't interact with that person. They don't have to tell me the details, but just don't. That's a bad route to go.
Yeah.
Because of that. And I've had to realize like, I go to the same sales trainer, Brad, and
Good old Brad.
WIIFM. What's in it for me?
Mm.
Everybody listens to that. And it's like, oh my gosh, people are always motivated by like, how is this going to benefit me? What is this going to do for me? And like, I have to remember that because I used to just like, everybody wants the best for me. And it's not always the case.
Yeah, it's not. And it's a tough thing.
It is. It's hard to come to that real, like I hit 30 and I'm like, oh my gosh, my man, dude, like this is the wow.
Yeah. And the older you get, the more of those knuckleheads you find. And then you realize also that's why there's a 99% and a 1%.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why people are like, oh yeah, the 1%, we criticize the 1%, the 99% are the crowd. And those are the people that have that thought process of everything should be free. This person should help me. This person should do this and this. Dude, and it's always these people. Like one thing about Cody Barton, that when I first met Cody, he DM'd me off of he texted me off of Steve Trading's podcast.
Yeah.
And the text was, oh my gosh, I will give you all of my leads and let you take all the money from everything that you close if you just show me how you're doing what you're doing. Everybody else, I had like 200 text messages that day. It was like, saw you on Steve's podcast. When can we grab lunch? Love to pick your brain, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, the only person out of 200. So 0.5% of people actually led with value. It's just, and it's a cheat code. It's like, how is it that 10 people reach out to the seller that Eric is working with and only one of them actually built rapport?
Yeah.
There's no such thing as competition, guys. Like 99% of people are just turds.
Yeah. And we're limiting ourselves.
Right. Yeah. And my filter of figuring out who the turds are is I'm just going to give and give and give and give. And the people who show up appropriately and react to that in an appropriate way, they're the 1%. And I'll double down and I'll double down. People will say stuff like, why do you double down on certain people and you don't? Like Kevin chose a really good example. Partly he is here local. He also is like, he's Korean and I have a little Korean blood in me.
Yeah.
And also same thing with like, why do I hang out with certain people? Ingrid, I hang out with you. I see you. The first thing I see the first thing I want to do when I see Ingrid is run up to her and give her a hug. And the reason why is because Kevin Cho has positive and great intentions. He's always trying to do the next thing like positively. Same thing with you. Doesn't mean you're perfect. I don't want to hang out with perfect people.
Right.
I want to hang out with people that are growing up and aware, like self-aware of what's going on, but at the same time be willing to sacrifice some of their time to give back to other people. And you guys freaking do that.
I love what you just said, by the way. One of my favorite compliments I gotten is that Laura told me that she loves getting hugs from me and she's not a hugger.
Yeah, she's not.
And then she said, it's your aura. And I was like,
yeah, you got really great vibes.
I felt so special after she said that. I was like, oh my God,
you're authentic.
Girl, let me get
you got mama vibes.
Yeah. Authentic, safe vibes. Good vibes.
Well, dude, it's been a year.
That's crazy. A year of making a podcast consistently.
It's great.
Kudos to you.
Yeah, you too.
Hey. So how many episodes do you think you've recorded in total out of all, like even the guest ones you've been on? How many podcasts do you think you've been on?
1,000. Easy.
Yeah.
1,000 easy.
I mean, the stages you don't see them on, because a stage could be a lot of different things, right? It could be a podcast, a physical stage. It could be a YouTube video with somebody else. It could also be a Zoom in somebody else's mentorship. They call me and they go, will you teach creative finance to my agents or to my this or that? Dude, if you saw my calendar, it's like, holy crap, Pace is doing all these things where I'm on little micro stages all the time, 50 people, 100 people, 300 people, whatever it is. I have easily done, not 1,000. I've probably done, I've done over 1,000.
Yeah, with all of your
over
episodes
100. I mean, last year I was on 110 stages. I was on probably 100 podcasts last year. But like my own podcast, Wholesale Hotline, 200 episodes. Get Creative, like it was running a year before Wholesale Hotline, probably another 300 episodes. Like just those two podcasts is 500 episodes.
What do you think has come from, or what is the biggest impact it's had on your life doing those episodes? Like how has that impacted you personally and then also professionally?
Okay, so podcasting is one of the greatest places that you can really build a relationship with people because you're really sucked into you guys already know this, but people watching, it's like, if you don't have a podcast, how can you hang out with your heroes? Like I've been able to invite my heroes on my podcast and give them a platform and give some sort of value while picking their brain.
And our hero is here.
Oh, come on. So, and then it's a great way to vibe with people. You get to learn so much about storytelling and what captivates people, what doesn't captivate people. You also learn the weirdest things about human beings when you do a live podcast. I prefer to do a live podcast.
Yeah.
You watch the weirdest comments that pop up where you say something and in your mind, you're like, that was so concise and so clear. And then somebody asks a question that's so harebrained. That's like, how did you get that from that? So you learn how to communicate better, tell better stories. And I love long form podcasts way more because I'm a longer winded human being. Whereas like Alex Hormozy, he can say what I say in an hour in like 3 sentences. I'm like, I don't have that talent. I'm okay with not having that talent. I'm going to focus on my talent. Right.
Yeah.
That's another superpower too, is that you learn how to find where you're good and where you're not, and where you show up well and what you don't. I also think it gave me the confidence to start asking other people to be on my shows that I didn't have the confidence to do that a year prior.
Yeah.
So like a challenge I would ask you guys is like, text me and go, we want Ken McElroy on our show. We want this person on our show. We want Brad Lee on our show. Like whoever you want, tell me who you're ready for. And I'll text them and be like, hey, here you go. Okay.
Wow.
But you have the confidence to do that now.
Yeah.
A year ago, you'd be like,
we're new. What do we do?
hey, welcome to our podcast. We're new. What do we do?
One thing we're doing, or one of our goals this year, is to actually update our loft at the Mindset Manor and make not something like this. This is gorgeous, but something like this
podcast studio.
Yeah, where we can have different spaces where.
You mean you don't want us to be in our rooms on our little laptops?
We need to upgrade. We need to upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't use this room as much as I would love for us to use this room. Mostly because we couldn't get it done last year.
Yeah. Too much traveling.
Too much traveling. It was a lot. I had a girl that was my assistant for a while that she was in charge of the room, and I just gave the wrong task to the wrong person. And then I finally found the right person. His name's Ricky, and Ricky just started cranking on it and getting it done.
It looks great. Eric was putting a lot of stuff in.
This is like 30% of where it should be.
He was saying that's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, but it's kind of a moving movie set, so we can do multiple things in here and whatever. But multi-purpose thing. I just got sick of the room I'm in.
You don't like to be in your little box?
I like being in my little box when I'm with the Subto community, but outside of that, I'm like, so
that room's for Subto. This room is for other things.
Correct.
Kind of like keep your bedroom. This is where you sleep.
I have another studio being set up right now on the other side of the property in the guest house, just for live seller calls.
Oh, okay, cool.
I like that.
When are you gonna start doing those again?
Probably 2 to 3 weeks. I'm currently working on it. I actually just got a text from my partner saying, hey, let's talk about it. Because again, the conversation of deconflicting me out of stuff and knowing where I'm special.
Hey, you know that we're committed. So if ever you need a stand-in for something like that, I think I heard you talking about it on a podcast last week, or I was like, you didn't do something because your schedule got conflicted. I was like, hey, count on us. Like, I know.
Mm-hmm. What I really want for Subto is to take a lot of the live lead gen stuff that we're doing, like Kevin's Monday and Shad on all the, like even like Landon Moore's agent outreach calls. And I want them to be way more interactive for the people in the Zoom, where it's like, all right, guys, we're going to do the script. I'm going to do 10 calls. Then we're going to break out into Zoom rooms where now there's going to be a leader in each room, and everybody's going to go round table, kind of like golden ticket style.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's going to make a call today. We're not getting off the Zoom for 3 hours until everybody's made a call.
Yeah.
And create a culture of everybody is getting it, participating, and we're all being apologetic and forgiving people for being crappy. And we're going to be like, do you remember when I did the cucumber challenge?
Yes, I was there.
Okay. Yeah. You were there. You were part of it.
Yeah.
I would do the funniest things. This is like 4 years ago.
Yeah. This is when we were in the Lemon office.
So I would give away awards for,
we had bonuses. You had pay structures, and then you had a trophy.
Yeah, I had a trophy. It was just a big cucumber. So it's just stupid stuff. So we go, whoever can say I love you to a seller and get this seller to say I love you back, would get $100.
I got. Well, but how many things could you do the combo? So it was like, can you get a seller to say 100? Say that to you, you get $100 for that. If you got them to say, if you could say cucumber as many times in a call, you'd get like $400.
Yeah, you could
get the most cucumbers in there.
I was
oh,
giving like
fun.
on these big cucumber challenges. This is like 4 years ago almost.
Yeah.
I would give, my gosh, this is crazy to think even.
I think they're still on your YouTube actually.
They have to be.
Oh, we streamed them. No, we streamed them on, what was that weird platform? Because I did it. I had to like host it or something. Because
it was so.
Is it Twitch?
No, it was one of the other platforms that we had to use.
It was like kind of before I had a YouTube channel in a big way. I did do a lot of live seller calls in the Lyman office for the Subto community once we had launched, but it was like on my laptop, and I would call it one of the best deals in my portfolio came from these live seller calls. Oh my gosh.
They're fun because you're and I started doing that because you brought this up. So if you just post a camera up and just act like you're performing in front of people, it's so much. I got a guy to say I love you because we bonded because we were both veterans, and we were talking about stuff.
Like, I love you, bro.
Yeah, and I was like, you know, dude, like sometimes you just need somebody to say that I love you, and I need that today. I love you, man. And he's like, I love you too. And I was like,
so
God,
good.
and I love you. Yeah. Oh, they're fun because then you get then you turn it into
the
a game.
way you just said that is so good. Like you're front loading the conversation. Like, yeah, sometimes you just need somebody to say I love you. That's such a great way to like frame that properly.
Yeah.
And then when you say it to them, they have no choice.
And that was my first conversation with this man ever. It was like an 8-minute conversation, and I got him to say I love you in 8 minutes.
That's so awesome.
That really is a lot of the secret to this stuff. It's like, remember when we were all in high school or college or whatever it was, nobody had to remind you to hang out with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like hang out with your friends was this thing where your parents go, get your ass home. Your curfew's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. And you would tell your parents when maybe you didn't have curfew in Columbia.
Well,
she grew up here.
I grew up here.
Okay.
I didn't come here till I was like 7.
Did you not have a curfew?
When I actually did
like 16?
No.
She was paying all the bills. She was doing all the stuff.
Okay, I
was kind of adulting Greta as a teenager.
Okay, got it. My mom was like that too, but like, so I had a curfew. You have a curfew?
I had a curfew.
So we'd come home late. You always say, I lost track of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, how do we create an atmosphere in this community of real estate where we all just kind of lose track of time because we're having so much fun?
Yeah.
And that's when you're doing that on seller calls, you can lose track of time.
Yeah.
And I love doing stuff too. Like we were on the seller call the other day for this deal that Eric's working, and I'm on a Zoom with the seller. And I love just dropping little nuclear bombs on the seller without them knowing. It will just fester under their skin for probably 3 or 4 days. So I'll say stuff to them. It's like, I could just beat you up over this thing, right? And I pause for like 3 seconds, but I'm not going to. Let's da-da-da-da-da. And then you watch their whole body clench up. I love doing it on Zoom instead of a phone call because you can see their body reaction, type of thing. And then letting it relieve, and you go, wow, man, the words that you say are so powerful. So when you learn how to craft that and perform and have a lot of fun on these calls, it alleviates the pressure of, I have to close a deal right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, here's the perfect script. Here's the thing. It's like, dude, how about just have fun?
One of the things when you think about having fun, it was when you and Jamil went door knocking. What were you going to say? Chicken wing?
Gosh.
Say that story because it's such a funny story.
Dude,
wasn't this on Triple Digit?
It was on Triple Digit Flip. Yeah. And
show.
We had this lady that it was so good, and we could not get her permission to give us the video footage.
Oh.
They went back to this lady's house for like 2 or 3 months, knocking on her door, offering her $500, $1,000. She was like, I'm not.
You can't even blur her out?
Can't blur her out. Dang. Can't have a semblance of her house. Can't have anything.
Wow.
And it was just so fun. I'm in this conflict right now of like, they want to do another show with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm having so much fun not doing it.
I don't have to film all day.
I don't have to film all day. I get to do kind of what I want, which is, I make so much more money when I'm not on the TV show.
Yeah.
But the TV show did open up a lot of doors where you get instant credibility when you say, hey, this is Pace from Triple Digit Flip on A&E versus like, hey, this is my friend Pace. He's a real estate investor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of credibility that comes from it, but I'm like, do I really need more TV show episodes to say that I have a TV show?
Mm-hmm.
But then isn't that weird to be like, so I wrote A&E a letter 3 weeks ago, and I turned them down for all new searches for shows. So it's weird. It's a weird thing. The A&E is actually not who I work for. Do you know how this works?
Yes.
No.
Okay. So here's how TV,
explain it.
This is how TV works. No TV show you've ever watched actually produces, creates, edits, records any of the content that you watch.
Mm-hmm.
They buy it from a production company.
Yeah.
To limit their exposure and lawsuits and all sorts of stuff from like their advertisers are pouring money in.
Yeah.
They want to be able to fire the production company that actually found the talent, did the thing, whatever. So I don't actually work for A&E. I work for a company called 6 West. 6 West, in a weird way, is the only production company actually is A&E. So A&E has 20 production companies they work with. They're all like outside companies, their own company.
Sure.
But they go, we're done with working with all these people. We're going to have our own in-house production company called 6 West. It's on the 6th floor on the west side of the building in the A&E
So
headquarters.
not owned by Kanye West, and it's like his 6th child.
I wish.
Something.
I wish.
Okay, cool. I just checking.
So we get hired by 6 West. They're an internal company at A&E. Like all their emails are A&E. So it's like it felt like we were at A&E, but this production company just really wanted to do a fix and flip show. And I'm like, cool, let's do our work. We'll do a year, 2 years. We'll show you guys that we can be a popular show. But then we want to change the rhetoric to we're doing creative stuff, not necessarily creative finance, but like RV park. And hey, my RV park, I have a guy that sells crack out the window, like a drive-through thing at the crack house. And there's people shooting each other and bullet holes. Let's like make that an episode.
Yeah.
And they are like, no, we want to go fix and flip. We want to do this. We want to do that. And I'm like, well, can we travel a little bit? Can we go to like Atlanta for 2 or 3 episodes? No. And it just got to this point where I go, we are not going to work with you as a production company anymore. So we're working with another production company. That's like, let's go do all the fun things and let's go do all the stuff. So if they let us do the fun things we want to do, I hope we do a TV show again. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, do I really want to do it?
Yeah. It took a lot of time. It was really hard to get a hold of you.
It's but that also is a benefit too. The benefit is everybody in my world, remember,
has to figure it out.
They have to figure it out.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Molly first came on the scene and she's like, I was in the TV show and she's like, I just got to figure this out. She has gotten to a point where I won't talk to her for a week. And I'm like, wait, do I actually have things that people do for me? And then she'll call me with a big old like, hey, we got a call. I got to talk to you. I got 2 hours of updates for you. I'm like, for what? And then we go through this 2-hour thing. I'm like, oh, you're doing a lot of stuff. And that came from the TV show really forcing her to have to just do everything on her own.
Also really forcing you to delegate it off. So I guess that maybe, yeah.
Number one skill set that both of you are going to have to learn at some point is like, how do I create a team and I delegate?
That's the goal this year.
Or maybe not. Like that's another conversation too. That's a whole nother podcast episode. Like what does that real like perfect world look like? Do you want to be Grant Cardone with 300 employees?
No, I don't.
Perfect.
I think I do.
Really. Oh, you do? No, I'm the lifestyle really. Give me enough so I can enjoy my life.
So one of the things that you've helped me change my perspective on, and a little bit of, I'm also listening to different podcasts like the School of Greatness, I think, or something like that, with Lewis. Forgot his last name already. Anyway, one of the things that I never thought about, because I was so selfish in the way that I looked at like freedom, like real estate can buy me freedom and blah, 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 is how much of an impact you can have to others by being able to provide jobs, being able to be like, one of the things I told one of my neighbor friends is she was like, I just don't believe that all this money is good and blah, blah, blah. And one of the things you taught me was whoever you are, money's just going to amplify that.
Yeah.
So if you think about it from that perspective, if you are a really great leader, and in my corporate world, I've been a very great leader, like that I do know as a superpower to delegate. I know how to find talent, get them and like really, make them feel really great about themselves and have them give them enough guardrails where they can make decisions, but really excel at what they're passionate about. And I'm like, I love that. I love to have that kind of influence. And if I become this person who's just really singular, a really lean team, I'm not going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And then, but the other part of this, and back to the Brenda, or her name is Brenda, is my neighbor, it is like people who have good hearts and who should be leading other people and who should really have this influence. It's our duty.
Yeah.
I said duty. Our responsibility to go and get rich and have this ability to make an impact in other people's lives, because those who may not have that same moral compass
are doing it.
Stopping them.
I agree with you, but what his point was, do you want to be the Grant Cardone and go have 300 companies? I mean, I want to be a multimillionaire, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to have 300 companies. I guess if you do it right and you get the operators that can manage things, and I'll let you answer here, but one thing that I love about you, and you've said this, and I say this all the time, because I used to be the same person, like, you don't need that much money, like, that's kind of greedy. But one of my, again, another Paceisms, you've probably got this from somebody else. You wanted to be a billionaire because with money comes power, with power comes change, and with change comes with money comes power, with power comes influence, and with influence comes change. And you can make a difference in your community where other people are not doing that. So I really, really appreciate it.
It's like, what good is an opinion if you don't have the power to change something? It's like people have all these opinions about how the government's ran and this, that, and the other. It's like, what good is who cares about your opinion? Yeah.
What are you doing about it?
You can't do anything about it if you don't have influence and you don't have power and you don't have the capital to do it. Right. Money gets people's ears to open up.
Totally.
And, it's interesting. I was talking to Heidi Silva today. I was driving around, went up to a property, one of my Airbnbs. And I said, I don't know how to get into my Airbnbs, and nor do I even know who's staying here. So I call Heidi and I go, hey, Heidi, this property, is it open? Somebody's there. What's the lockbox code? Okay, great. While we're on the phone, I go, where are you? She goes, oh, I'm in Montana. What are you doing there? She's my traveling asset manager. So she goes, oh, well, I went to the RV park that we own. And I listened to that word she says. We. Oh, you just made my whole day. Because my goal is to give ownership to people. And that's legally, like, I haven't been able to legally figure this out yet, because if you give ownership, like I've even told Caroline, like once I figure this out, I'm giving Caroline a portion of my portfolio. And legally, there's a hard way to like figure this out, of like giving ownership to somebody and then they quit. And it's like, wait, hold on. But I don't want you to like leave and then you take it. So anyway, there's all sorts of stuff. But Heidi goes, well, I'm at, the RV park that we bought, that we own, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going around to other RV parks that are our competition. And I'm snooping and I'm doing this. I'm like, isn't this cool that like she has the freedom to go do this for her job? I don't even know she's doing it. And then she's like, well, I'm talking to Lindsay, the RV park manager for that RV park. And then the RV park that we're about to buy, that's like 2 miles down. And then I also went to this property, the one, Eric, you've been to that property, the one in Kalispell, the little 3-bed, 2-bath house. So she's over there renovating that property. And then she's like, I'm at our Kaufman property. The Kaufman property is the Creative Acres property, the 20 acres I just bought for $1 down in Montana.
Is that the one we walked in Montana?
No, same floor plan.
It looked, when I looked at it, I was like, well, I walked through this house already. Okay.
Same floor plan, 2,000 square feet smaller. That one's 10,000 square feet on 40 acres. Mine's 8,000 square feet on 20 acres.
Okay.
So same floor plan, same builder, same everything.
Gotcha. Okay.
So she's like, our Kaufman property. And I'm like, isn't it funny that that's my summer home, but she is saying our thing, which I love. Why? Because it's going to be used for community camp and other events and like marriage retreats and all sorts of fun things for kids. And we're going to have tractors there and just a lot of fun things. And I just love being able to cultivate that vision. And I had greatest compliment I've received in years was from Alyssa Ritchie on my transaction coordination team. She's a sub-2 student. And we were all in a group chat with all of I have 10 TCs. That's how many transactions we're doing. And she says, and 85% of the transactions we do are mine, which is great. And the only 15% of transactions we do for other people are like the crazy gangster things that nobody can solve. So Molly and Allison solve them. But Alyssa says in this group chat, she's like, Pace, thanks for dreaming so big that my dream could live within yours. What?
Yes.
So, 15, 20 years ago, my thought process was, how do I become a multimillionaire? Then you become a multimillionaire. You're like, okay, how can I use that to help people? Then you do use that to help people. Then these people are like, I want to be on your team. And they start working on behalf of the whole collective group. And then it gets to a point you're like, oh my gosh, this thing's kind of building on its own. We're buying assets I'm not involved in. They're raising money I'm not touching. They're doing this. Oh my gosh, this is so freaking cool. And so I think 15 years ago, I would have said, I don't want to be Grant Cardone. Still to this day, I don't want to be Grant Cardone in terms of size, but I do want to become a billionaire from the standpoint of what kind of person I will be required to become in order to be deserving of that kind of wealth and a steward over that kind of money. And that's going to take me 15 years to figure that out. And I look forward to that journey. right? It's like, I don't even care about the billion. I care about who do I have to become?
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Because then it gets you out of your comfort zone again, and then you continue to grow. I love pushing people to look at your Instagram stories, because that's really you posting all of that, because you have so much content going out every day.
The only place to like truly communicate with me is on my stories.
Your stories. But you, so we're both doing 75 hard right now.
Yes.
Again. And I love, for a couple years back, I was really lifting really heavily, and I could do pull-ups. And I see that you've been, I love why, because like everybody says you see me as consistent, and like, we're always the harshest to ourselves, right? Like our harshest critic is the person we see in the mirror.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, man, Caroline, you're so consistent. They don't see me like when I'm going to bed, I'm like, oh my God, I stayed up too late. Like I'm gonna have to wake up, at 4 o'clock. I'm gonna feel terrible. Oh shoot. Like I want to go be the best version of myself, because the impact I have here is going to help. Like when I did a Tony Robbins event a couple weeks ago, and I didn't have the daily dial going, and you know how many messages I got? I was like, what do I do with my day? Like, how does my day start? This is so weird. Like, I don't even know what to do with my time. Yeah. And you get out of this little routine, and you get really hard on yourself. And what I love about you and what you post and the message that you continuously have is you're like, man, I wasn't consistent with my pull-ups. And you started doing it again. I'll see you that I know when you're doing your pull-ups, because you post your pictures about it.
Yeah.
And
not every day,
but
I do my pull-ups a lot.
But you do your pull-ups, and it's just like, allowing, again, this comes back into, some self-development, which I started doing once I joined Subto. Giving yourself grace, even though you mess up. It's really cool to be around the people that are failing, because you're learning. And when you're learning, you're growing. And we all start out, we just suck at the beginning. Like you think you're going to be good, and then you get in your head about it, and you're like, man, if I suck, the only way I can go is up from here. So as long as you consistently show up for yourself, it's really cool. But I see your workouts. I see you always running and stuff. So it's nice. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's back on his grind. He's back home. You're in your routine.
The pull-up thing is a fun thing for me. So what I did is I took my kids' handprints and their footprints, and I put them on that wall. So when I go into the garage to get my car, my truck, I see that wall and I see my kids' impressions, and I'm like, dude, like, get your ass to work, right?
They're watching you.
Yeah. They are watching you. And I love doing pull-ups because I hate doing pull-ups. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And even today I was like, I could feel my little bat wings growing on my back. And I was like, oh, I haven't built muscle. I've just woken up my back. I'm not trying to take over the world. Like that's the other thing that I think is defeating for a lot of people, is their goal is so massive that you can justify not accomplishing it.
Yeah.
But if like, dude, I'm just trying to wake up my back. I'm just trying to like engage muscles that have not been engaged in 10, 15 freaking years. That's all I'm doing. I'm not trying to become buff, this, that, and the other. Just engage my muscles. I'm trying to wake my little bat wings up. That's it.
Yeah.
Change the goal. Change the viewpoint, the vantage point.
I love it. That's just something that's really cool.
Happy 1-year anniversary, girls.
Thank you.
Wow.
You are our first almost 2-hour interview.
Oh,
wow, really?
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah,
we're doing stuff. The curfew, we lost track of time.
Oh.
What's your curfew?
There's
Oh yeah,
no
we did lose
curfew.
track. That was 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just about.
Almost. We're about
How
2
long
minutes.
what's your longest podcast you've ever done?
This one, hour and a half, probably.
Hour and a half, I think, with Devin Burr.
Devin Burr.
Yeah.
I could see
Infinite
that,
banking.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Devin's great.
Yeah. So
One last question before you go, or before we wrap this up. What is your biggest goal for the year? Besides, I know you're going to overdo on Go Giving, but like personally, I don't want to hear about business. What is your biggest goal personally?
Oh, personally?
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of personal stuff.
Oh, okay.
You've hung out with me.
Yeah.
You've seen what I do. Eric, do I do much personal stuff? Kids.
Yeah.
Kids.
So for sure, like if you looked at my personal goals, you want to hear what my personal goals are?
Yes, I do. Oh, how do you, just so everybody, another thing that I love about you is how you track your goals. Tell us how you do it.
So I have it in my note, or I have it in my Apple Notes. And let's see, I have my.
And you update.
Where's your goals?
Well, the way that he talked about is at a mastermind, and he has his goals. I have mine written out, and I have them in here as a picture.
I break them down into 5 little categories.
But you go, when do you know you need to touch back base on them?
When they're towards the bottom. So right here, it's the 4th one down. And if it falls down to the bottom, it's like, hold on a second. Cause this is categorized by time, right?
Yeah.
So I look at my 2024 quarter 1 goals. Last time I updated this was last Friday.
Okay.
So I'm constantly updating it, just do it in my phone. I try not to journal too much, cause then I have to like bring a journal with me. But my family goals are time for Asher and Corbin sports and school, take Corbin to school, date night with Laura weekly, ranch in Montana. I can knock that one off the list.
Hey.
Finish retirement accounts for the kids, family night twice a month, but that's like dedicated family night.
Yep.
Anyway, at the top of my goal sheet, I've had the same quote on here for like 4 years. And it says, it's not who you are that holds you back. It's who you think you're not. And so a lot of times I'll say stuff like, oh, I'm not that guy. Oh, I'm not that guy. I'm not that. That's not me. That's for me. Right. A lot of that stuff. And even for you guys, like when you were creating your podcast, you were like, we're not like that. We're not like influencers. We're not, whatever it was that you say you weren't.
If Steve Trank calls me that now, you're an influencer. I'm like,
oh, chill out, Ingryd.
I tell him like, that sounds weird.
It is an interesting thing. Even to this day, people go, oh, he's a YouTube influencer. I'm like, am I?
Yeah.
But
YouTuber.
It's not who you are that holds you back. It's who you think you're not that holds you back. Anyway, so I break my stuff up into 5 categories: family goals, personal items, business goals, brand. Brand is just obviously the thing of pace of like all the things that whatever. I got invited to go on Joe Rogan's podcast 2 weeks ago.
Did you? I know that was one of your goals that you've had for a long time. It's
and we
cool.
turned him down.
What?
Yep. It was a hard conversation. I told the team I just didn't feel like I was ready in terms of my messaging. A lot of my messaging I've been recrafting of like, what are the things that are actually important to me, and solving homelessness and helping affordability at a larger scale. It's like one thing to go, yeah, we're doing creative finance and we're making a bunch of money, versus like, dude, we're actually solving affordability with family promise and pad split and these types of things. Like we're actually making an impact in our communities. That's the conversation I really want to have. And I don't feel like I've made a big enough dent to justify my seat at the table.
Why not go there? Because he has people back multiple times. Why not go there and maybe potentially have a larger, like think of it like the TV show. I have more opportunity with people with more connections from going to that.
I thought about that, but I also had the same week I got invited to Patrick Bet-David's podcast.
Oh, cool.
And I turned him down too.
So,
and I just felt like I am not in any rush.
Yeah.
I am in a 15-year cycle. I'm going to be here next year.
Yeah.
They will be here next year. I will be better next year. And this year is about giving and solving the problems that I have not accomplished 100%. 2024, I think, is like, I moved really fast from 2019 to 2023.
Yeah.
I'm now going to deconflict myself from certain parts of my businesses and force my business partners to do those things so I can go and accomplish the things that I really want to. Like, again, pad split, Family Promise, talking to the CEO of Family Promise, the charity.
Yeah.
And her talking about like, nobody has ever cared about actually like giving us nationwide attention and helping us out. And I go, I bet you our Subto community could probably take 500 families off the street next year in 2024.
I got a house right now. I got 2.
See? So
Hey,
like,
do you think Levine would be a good area for that?
dude,
Yes,
it's everywhere.
100%.
Everywhere.
Okay,
There's families that need help.
I just got a
everywhere.
property today. I'll show you after the podcast.
So I look at that and I go, if I went on Joe Rogan and I had that conversation on Joe Rogan and I said, yeah, our community took 500 families off the street this year through creative real estate investing. Now that's a conversation.
Yeah, I love it.
Not a conversation like, yeah, I got rich. I got
Yeah.
$500 million in holdings. Who cares, dude?
Yeah.
It's like our community.
I will say though,
Yeah.
we've helped so many families just in a different way.
I just don't have
like,
the trackability to like use that as like,
that's
I
hard.
can't say that.
I understand. Like KPIs aren't really as solid. Yeah.
And like, if you go
Yeah,
on Joe Rogan and you're going to get 3 million views or whatever it is that you end up getting,
You
the
gotta have
message has to be
credibility.
clear.
you will be
Yeah.
so criticized if you don't have like perfect messaging.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
hear
the
you.
comment, even the really good podcast, you look on there and
Yeah.
it's like half the audience hates you, half the audience loves
Yeah.
you. So I'm like, I want to be able to have, I actually thought about bringing on the CEO of Family Promise with me as like my sidekick of like, here's how we're actually making a dent in homelessness. Like everybody's talking shit about homelessness and homelessness is growing. Well, guess what? These are people that are actually helping the problem.
Right.
And that conversation would be easily tracked by the CEO of Family Promise of saying, I'm the owner of the charity and Pace's community, the Subto community, has helped 500 families get off the street. That is a message that I want.
I love that KPI.
Yeah.
Let's do it. 500.
Yeah,
We
it's a
can
big
do
goal
it.
of mine.
We could totally do 500.
And one of the reasons why I want to go back to live seller calls is because if I look, my team is buying assets on their own. Like I've got my fund that a lot of us are partners in. and that's going to grow and it's going to be great. It's so fun. I love it. That team operates without me. I'm not involved at all. Like not an hour a month.
Yeah.
At all. And then my other group, Bo, Molly, and a handful of people on that team, they're acquiring probably 50 doors a month just without me. I'm not involved. And then I go, okay, well, why don't I just focus on like small single family stuff here? And I'll just call 2 or 3 hours in the morning with the Subto community. And I'll just invigorate, not reinvigorate, because it's very invigorated, our community, but invigorate them to another level and go, I'm just going to focus on 12 families myself this year.
Mm-hmm.
And if we had 50 or 60 other students do the same thing, which is incredibly easy, or even 500 students go, I'm going to get one house and give it to Family Promise this year. Not give it, but like obviously sublease it to Family Promise. You'll have 500 houses times 4 houses or 4 families per house. That's 2,000 families that you could take off the streets.
Okay. So I have to change my goals now.
Or just add one.
Because I told you that, I think I told you like that, like I love real estate. I do, but I love real estate when there's a grander purpose.
Yes.
Like I have a transition home in Tucson and those guys, and I know it sounds, some type of way, but these are people coming out of prison.
Yeah.
Like the last thing you want is for them to not have a choice.
Yes.
You want, you
absolutely.
need to have,
what's that saying about
stabilize.
the idle hands or the devil's playground or something like that?
Yeah.
What's that thing? It's like,
Basically
yeah. I'm like the worst person with all these phrases like that, by the way, because I'm always like, yeah, the kettle with the shoes on. Like that's not me. Like but we have one of those. I have a property that I wanted to make into a sober home in Houston, but then you talked to me about Family Promise, and I'm like, this is a 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath house.
Yeah,
I already have it furnished. Like, let's get some families in there.
Family Promise.
But like when you have those purposes attached to things like real estate, for me, that's more meaningful.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is like, so we have a family meeting with our kids, right? And so when you're talking about like, all right, Asher and Corbin and Monday obviously doesn't comprehend anything besides, do you want me to change your diaper?
Oh my God, she's so cute.
Oh my God.
With her
Did you see that little dip? Oh shit.
Oh my
How did that?
God.
Who taught you that? You probably said that about your kids when they were growing up. Like, who taught you that?
Yeah.
I didn't tell you that word.
And you'll remember it forever. I still remember little Isla going, and you work out like this, and you do this. And she was instructing like how to work out. It was
like, where does it? It's like so amazing.
Yeah.
So we're in these we're in this family meeting. We do it, try and do it twice a month. Usually ends up being like once every 5 weeks, right? Because you get busy, whatever. And I'm in these conversations saying, all right, for tax purposes, dad is going to pay you as an employee. It's going to go into your retirement account. But what we're going to do is we're going to have you invest in real estate. And they're like, okay, that's cool. And I'm like, damn it, how do I get them excited? But then when you talk about Family Promise and you show them the families that we're helping take off the street, I go, you are going to help these families get a roof over their head. It very quickly changes what their expectations of their life is. Like, we're really lucky to have what we have. Look at these families. We need to be giving, and you're training them to have that bigger purpose at a younger age, and that they can actually solve a problem that other people can't solve.
Yeah. Just while we're on this, because we explain everything on here, can you give us a quick commercial? What is the Family Promise for people who haven't heard of it?
Family Promise is a nonprofit charity that is nationwide outside of like 5 states. They're not in 5 states. North Dakota, South Dakota. I don't even know if those are real states, just to be honest, guys. I don't know.
Southern Canada. Yeah.
Southern Canada, basically. So they're in 46, 45 states. Their main purpose is to take families that are working families that have children that can't afford housing because they might be a Walmart greeter or work at Target or work at Taco Bell. The people that actually serve our lives that are making $40,000 a year and have 2 kids and they are like right over the line
of assistance.
Yeah. So Family Promise comes in and goes, this is the craziest story. 1 in 30 kids in America sleeps in their parents' car. 1 in 30.
Wow. I didn't know that.
1 in 30 children in America sleep in their parents' car, whether it's an RV or a car with their parents.
Wow.
Okay. That's where, like, you drive around to RV parks. Like I own a couple RV parks. They'll park in our parking lots, sleep in there thinking nobody's going to notice, right? They won't actually pay to go park in the thing. They'll park in our parking lot.
Wow.
It's a significant problem. And so what Family Promise does is they collect donations from local communities. They raise capital. They raise money from donations. And then they work with churches.
Mm-hmm.
The churches get the families off the street, and Family Promise organizes them. So what happens is the families are in the church Monday through Saturday, and then there's church going on Sunday. But those families get 6 days a week where they have a roof over their heads. What Family Promise does is looks for consistency, non-drug use, all these kind of things, and says, all right, we're going to try and get you into an affordable home. And so they help them for another 6 months. They're giving them assistance. They're helping them find better jobs. They're helping them with like, okay, so you're at Target. Target will give you a raise if you do X, Y, and Z. Let's figure out how to train you on these things so you can go get that raise. Like, they're doing everything possible to get these moms and these dads and these kids into affordable housing. And our community is like literally the only community in real estate that's ever even talked to them, spoken to them, whatever. So they're raising money for donations to try and buy their own houses cash to then give these people a place to live with affordable rents.
Is it one family per house, or is it multiple families per house?
No, that's the good thing about pad split, or bad thing about pad split is pad split's like one heartbeat per room. A affordable house, Family Promise can do one family per room.
Nice.
So you can have one mom, 2 kids.
Gotcha.
As long as they have their own refrigerator. Like, let's say you have 5 families in one house, you have 4 refrigerators in the garage and family. 1 in the main kitchen.
Gotcha.
And then they have time schedules where it's like you're sharing the kitchen, sharing the laundry, do that kind of stuff. The CEO is like, we don't love that model. What we would rather do is have small multifamily.
Yeah.
Where like you're getting 16 units or 32 units or 4 units or duplexes or whatever. And they're like the 1-1s or the studio apartments where they're like, nobody really wants them as investment properties. And even Connex boxes, like the Family Promise building, the guy here locally that runs the chapter here, he's like, I just get dirt. I throw Connex boxes on them, divide them in half. The families rent them from me for $1,000 a month. Yeah. But they were like really well done.
Yeah.
Connex boxes?
Connex boxes. Yeah. Oh, storage containers.
Oh, like shipping containers.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're called Connex boxes
Forgive me.
It's an old school term. So shipping containers. Yeah. So that guy's doing that here locally. And he's like, dude, if I could get a 4-plex and a 6-plex and an 8-plex and a this and whatever. So I'm like, that's the easiest shit ever. Cause think about the new Fannie Mae loan where they're like, we'll let you go buy a 4-plex for a 5% down payment. And you go get everybody in the community that just goes and gets a 4-plex. You go think about every state. If we got 10 students that went and bought 4-plexes, that's 40 families times 50 states. That's 2,000 families that we would get off the streets using Family Promise.
Oh my God.
Now, Family Promise gets donations and grants from the government. So you're not giving the house and saying, here's the house.
Right.
You actually sublease the house to Family Promise. So let's say I have a 4-plex, actually the 4-plex that Eric sold me. There's 4 tenants in there. It's cash flowing right now. I can make more money if I'm managing it myself, renting it out to my own individual tenants. I would actually go to Family Promise and go, I'm going to give you a reduced rent. I'm going to let you guys lease it from me so you can go and lease it to your tenants. And I'll give you $100 a month off each room to give you guys affordability. But I'm not going to deal with the repairs. I'm not going to deal with anything. You guys just take it over. So Family Promise will take like a 4-plex, a 6-plex, an 8-plex completely over. You lease it to them. They'll have people coming in and out of it all the time.
Yeah.
And they'll pay you through government grants and donations and all sorts of stuff.
Nice. You have no maintenance. You have no headaches. It's all on them.
No maintenance. Yeah. Now they will do single family homes. I'm not saying don't do single family homes. They're just saying like a perfect thing for us would be an 8-plex in not a great area that we don't have to worry about a lot of transition. Because what will also happen is they'll go, all right, we have a mom and 2 kids. We need to get them into a little, like one part of town, but we don't have a house there yet. So let's use the 8-plex as like a transitional home that will have people live there for 2 or 3 weeks. As you can imagine, they deal with a lot of sensitive topics and sensitive situations. And so there's a lot of turnover and there's abuse and there's all sorts of things with these kids because of the nature of what's going on in the families. And so Family Promise's goal is to eliminate that or at least put a big dent in it.
I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
How can I help you run like this with the sub 2 students?
My big thing is like I have big transitions happening with a couple of my partnership stuff right now over the next 2 weeks. And then once I get back to it, I'm going to announce once the semesters are launched, February 5th, I think is when semesters got pushed back to. Then I'm going to go, all right, I'm back to like live calls. And I'm most of my live calls will be aiming towards buying properties through creative finance or through the new Fannie program to go after solving affordability for the Family Promise. The CEO of Family Promise is going to come on a big Zoom with us, like first week of February, and launch this.
Yeah.
And I'd love to have people in our local chapter communicating, like local area, bring the Family Promise local chapter owners to the physical Subto meetups. So he can go and speak and go, guys, this is what we're doing. Maybe even give you a tour of his facilities, like do the meetup at his facilities. Dude, if everybody in the country did that in their local area and got awareness, you go, wait, I can make money and solve a major problem that everybody's talking about. Like every time I see a YouTube video about homelessness and all this bullshit and not affordability, I'm like, we actually have the power to change that and not go broke. Right? Everybody else is like, you look at California. I don't know if you guys ever Googled this. The cost of what California is spending on solving one person's homelessness is $892,000. They give it to, there's just so many hands in the bureaucracy. And so what they'll do is they'll cut $892,000. The contractors have backdoor deals with the bureaucrats and all this kind of stuff. So they build one shack and it costs $892,000. It's like, dude, I can go get a shed for $60,000. Not a shed, like a mini home that's legit for like $60,000 to $80,000. Put it on a piece of dirt, let Family Promise run it and rent it out. Like there's so many ways we can help them that actually produce a solid return on investment.
Yeah. I love this. I love this so much.
Yeah, it's cool.
So what can we do right now to push some of our properties that we're having coming our way to you? Or what do we need to do to help?
I think the big thing we need to do is maybe we have a conversation with the local chapter. I have not spoken to him yet because I haven't had the time or the energy to go, okay, hey dude, we're going to start this thing. And then 3 months goes by and I go, hey, remember we spoke 3 months ago? I wasn't ready then. I'm ready now. So I've just been waiting for the 3 months to be introduced to him. I've been friends with the CEO of Family Promise. They're in New Jersey. She's like, you let me know when you're ready to go. We will turn the whole country on for you guys.
Yeah.
So he will give you the buy box.
Okay.
And he will go, this is good. That's not good. That's good. That's not good. And he'll come on a daily Zoom if he has to and go, I love that house. I don't love that house. He gets massive donations. Fox News is like, if your community, because we're friends with the Fox people, I've got a tour in LA where I'll be on Fox, MSN, blah, 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 New York, same thing with March. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about in both of those shows is like, guys, every one of these real estate investors that are talking about Airbnbs and this and that, and oh, I want to make all the money in the world. Cool. That's great. But like after 10 of those houses, how much more effing money do you need? Let's talk about actually solving a problem.
It's the impact. Yeah.
The impact. So there's going to be a massive push over the next year with this. And the CEO of Family Promise will light up all of these individual chapters. The guy in Phoenix will just give you his buy box. He'll give you reasons why a big house with 5 beds and 3 baths will or will not work, or, hey, do this for me and do this for me, and I'll sublease the house for you.
Yeah.
Like he'll break it all down for you. The sad thing is every chapter is completely individually different. So there's no uniformity.
Well, that makes sense because each community that's why real estate is so localized, right? Like the things that we care about here, pipes freezing over and stuff like that, is something that the Midwest cares about more.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Snow removal, really.
Yeah.
Right.
It's funny because in my corporate world, I'm like, you don't understand. I used to manage governance. And so I used to synthesize across our divisions all the things that everybody should share.
Yeah.
So I'm already in my brain, like, how do I help make it better for them so that they can manage it?
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with like the way that their chapters communicate with each other and their software and whatever else. And it's like they're not sharing even information. Or like they've been in business for a long time, like 10, 15 years. And it's a very successful charity, but it's, like anything else.
Sure.
So many imperfections.
Absolutely.
That somebody with your brain could come in and be like, guys, like,
streamline
WTF.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that's really exciting for like, okay, great. We're making money. One of the other troubling things about real estate investing that a lot of people have as a fallacy is like, you go get 3 houses and 3 rentals and you're just done working for the rest of your life. It's like, that's not how this works. It's a long-term game. And sometimes you'll buy a property, doesn't make as much money as you thought. So you got to hold on to it. And then 5 years later, like, damn, that thing, like my property, I just went and visited why I'm late here. When I put it into my portfolio, instead of living in it, used to be a personal home of mine, bought it sub-2, lived in it for 2 years, put it in the portfolio. When I put it in the portfolio, I'm like, I'm going to make $3,000 a month on this thing. I was making like $400 a month until we improved. And now after 4 years, I'm finally making $3,000 a month. welcome to real estate investing, right? You've experienced a lot of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at it, I'm like, you know, if I'm going to be in real estate investing for the rest of my life, I want to have it where I'm actually making a difference instead of just being some rich asshole.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I
It's
feel
fun.
that.
It gives you a purpose because if you just work for a paycheck, it's
Yeah.
oh, I made $50,000. This is great. Let's
Yeah.
go take a break. But if you're working for something that's bigger than you, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're responsible to other human beings.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are like, I don't know how to get started in real estate. Put your back up against the wall, right? In the sense of these people count on me. Go talk to the Family Promise, have them show you the families that are suffering. And you're like, dude, those people, I could actually change their lives if I picked up the damn phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kid, that mom who doesn't have the same opportunity and desire or maybe understanding or mental capacity that I do, that phone is my phone. That's the weirdest thing ever. When you take the responsibility of saying my cell phone is the solution to another family's problems, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you understand that from a Family Promise perspective, I think it makes that object, which is the heaviest object on planet Earth, the cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, you work out like this and you do this.
I have to show you the
It's the hardest thing to pick up in the world, but when
Yeah.
you see what it provides to people,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
makes it a lot lighter.
Makes it a lot more fun too.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's the impact at the end of the day, and then it's how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Man, okay. Well, we've kept you so long.
2 hours and 20 minutes.
Hey.
I was like, how do I go another 20 minutes?
How do I keep this the longest podcast yet so far? So, Pace, thank you so much for coming on and making this happen. Ingryd, thanks for reaching out to Pace.
We
again.
love you.
Love you too.
We
Yeah.
love you
So
for
much.
sure.
We'll have to do it again after we get some houses to the Family Promise.
All right, guys. And remember, so we have, you might have forgotten. This was like hour one. You might have forgotten. We have 3 of these bad boys to give away, 3 books to give away. So go to
Your Instagram.
your or my Instagram.
Oh, you tagged me on that one? Oh, but I thought you wanted them to. Oh, I'm getting confused with the things we're giving away. Yes.
That's okay. We're giving
Your-
away 2 different things. And I know a confused mind says no. So just pay attention. 2 different giveaways. One giveaway, the Wealth Without Cash. You have to go to either mine or Caroline's Instagram. We recently posted for this episode, right? So when you see the Go Giver episode on there, put your name down
Mm-hmm.
so that we can put you in a drawing for one of these books, and then we'll reach out to you through Instagram. The second one, the second giveaway is me and Marlon's reel. Pace is buying someone's ticket
Yes.
to come to our Mindset Mastermind February 2nd through 4th here in Gilbert, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay your own way here and your own hotel stay, but don't worry, we're feeding you because that's part of the package. And it's an all-day thing from February 2nd through February 4th. And in order to get into that giveaway, you must go to the reel that me and Marlon posted today being Wednesday. What's today?
Today is the 10th.
January 10th.
January 10th.
'Cause our first episode was January 11th last year.
Mm.
And put your name or somebody who you think should come to the mastermind, and then say mastermind right after it.
And make sure you guys DM Eric and say, congratulations, Eric, for being a badass, doing so many deals. He's
That's so
he's
true.
getting things done.
Deal machine.
Uh-huh.
Eric, how
Yes.
did you come across this most recent one? Come in camera, come in shot. Let us see your beautiful face. Come take my microphone.
Oh, this is the second podcast. that
Hey,
Eric's
he's
been
doing
told.
deals.
In
he's
a
getting
matter
seen.
of
How
just
did
a
you find
couple of
this?
days,
How do you
we're like,
it?
get on here.
Pull it up. Can you pull it up?
I can't.
It was in a Facebook
It
group.
was in a
How'd you
Facebook
get this?
group.
Seller is basically saying, I need help. Eric reached out to the seller directly.
From the free group, from the Subto,
Basically, yeah.
Group?
And he said, I can help you. And out of the only, come sit right here. He reached out to them. Then I got on the Zoom with them, and they were like, he was the only one that built rapport. We get off that Zoom, and he then tells me a story about what he said to them.
Tell us your story.
What he's
Yeah, so I mean, he explained the whole thing, but yeah. The story about building rapport. Is that what you want
yeah.
Yeah.
to hear? I was talking to them. She had her profile picture was her with her horse.
Mm.
That's a beautiful horse. What's the horse's name? Oh, it's her, because her husband's name's Scott. It's like, oh, it's Scotty, but we actually call it Sizzlin' Hot Chip. I was like, oh my God, that's an amazing name. What a fun name. That's so awesome. Actually, my aunt and my cousin come down every single year to the Arabian Horse Show. They compete every February. So I love horses. My dad used to own a horse. Come in. and go ride the horses and stuff. Like I love horses. So that's how I built the rapport with her.
So you didn't immediately go into, can I buy your house from a woman?
Well, no, I mean, I initially, like when I first started the conversation, I'm like, I'd love to help you.
Yeah.
That was my words is like, I want to help you. Not like, I want to buy this. I want to buy me.
Such a game changer.
Yeah,
when you go
like,
in
I want to help you out
position.
with this. Like not even realizing if this was going to be my house, but just like, I knew someone like could. Yeah. So I was trying to use that verbiage. Like, how can I help you? I want to help you guys. And just whatever way that I can. And if I can't end up helping them, then I would be able to like refer them to someone else who could. So I didn't say that to them, but like knowing that, like just going in there confidently, like I can help you, and just try to lead with value. I also told them I work with Pace. Like, oh yeah, I know Pace. Like we love his book, so like I think that helps too. And so yeah, just the horse. I found the horse.
Found the bunnies.
So we did your first wholesale deal together, right?
Yes.
Has that changed your perspective, your framework? Do you have more confidence? Like ever since that deal, how
I think so.
Has things changed for you?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely has.
We don't say I think so.
Yeah. I know so. Eric, is it terrifying still getting on the phone with the seller?
I've never gotten on the phone.
Oh, was this just through text message?
It was all through. I do everything through Facebook.
Wow.
I'm just like constantly sifting through feeds and looking for people's posts.
So you never spoke to the seller on the phone?
No, until the second day.
Wow.
Until I asked Pace if he wanted to join me on the call. And he's like, yeah, sure. I'll come on. He's like, what do you need me for? I'm like, I don't know. This is my first time.
Just be there. Hold my hand. And that's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're a licensed agent, everybody knows this. Like you just got to be creeping up on posts and figuring like if anybody has even an inclination that they need to buy or sell a home, you start getting inquisitive.
Yeah.
So good for you. Good for you for taking the time to look for stuff that way, making it work, knowing your schedule, knowing that, dedicating yourself to the phone may not be the best use of your time, and using what you have in front of you. So hopefully for all of you out there, like take that into perspective. What are you good enough? Everyone is good on social media. Like people slide into the DMs all the time. So good job, Eric.
That's how I met my wife. I slid into her DMs.
Hey, slide into the DMs works. Florida, the Pacer thing
slid into the DMs.
Were DMs around when you and Mark got together?
No. I'm sorry.
Oh, wow.
No, I think they were. We just weren't really that into like Facebook.
You were pen pals.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was Facebook called before?
It's always called Facebook. The Facebook.
Huh?
No, it wasn't MySpace. It's always been Facebook. It was
called something slightly different.
It's been Facebook. They had the Facebook and now it's
Maybe
Facebook.
It was well, I remember when it first came out and I was in college. So it's like the early 2000s.
Yeah. I got in 8th grade.
Yeah.
My cousin had to tell my mom it was okay.
Thank you, I still wish MySpace could have stuck around though. That was the bomb.com.
All right, let's wrap this up, guys. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. Every Wednesday at 4:00 Arizona time, we go live on the Explain It podcast. Pace, did you change the time of doing Get Creative?
Every Monday, 7 p.m.
Every Monday, 7 p.m. After every Monday at 5 p.m. Wholesale Hotline. Eric, where can people connect with you? Where can we get dope edits?
I'm on Instagram at Eric Ballman, EricBahlman.
Boom.
Yeah. And again, Mr. Pace Morby himself. Go follow him if you're not following him already. Of course you're following him already. And go follow him on YouTube. What's your next big number on YouTube, Pace?
We'll get 500,000 this year.
500,000. That's I'm trying to hit 1,000. I think I was like 20 people away.
Oh, really? Yeah. 4 people away. So get on Instagram. Away? Oh my gosh, there's Cody. So get on or get on YouTube and go find Ingryd right now and give her a follow. Subscribe.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, share, everything. Okay, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pace, can you cut it? Bye.